If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell icon to get the latest updates.
If you like this video, make sure to visit our Vimeo page and follow us to get the latest update.
So no questions till yesterday's session?
No, Venkat, we can
Okay.
continue with this.
So today, we will going to discuss few of the theoretical concepts, like few of the ideology about the transformations, and after that, maybe like 1 hour we will have some discussion, and after that, we will go for some tool overview. And yesterday I showed you, right, few of the functionalities we are not able to see because of tool issue. Now today it got resolved and we got the required access, and still few of them are pending, but no worries. For today's session we can continue, so we will go for that way. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So now today's agenda was like there are a couple of transformations that are available in BODS, right? Where we have whenever we have our database. So from that database, whatever the functionalities, how we transform the data from one location, means here location means one system to another system, or one table to another table, or one file format to another file format. So how these transformations plays an important role. So how it will process our data, how it manipulate our data, how the backend process was happening. So all of these we will going to discuss today. Okay. So from this we get to know like what are the different transformations, where we can use those transformations, and how these will process the data. So first, we have different categories of transformations in BODS. As I show you, like 1 second, I will show you. So if we go inside this tool, so if you see here, there are like data integrator, data quality, platform, and text data processing. So there are 4 categories of transformations that are available in BODS. Okay. So most of the times out of all these 4 categories, so they have defined data integrator is nothing but like it will integrate the data through these transformations. So only they will call it as a data integrator transformations. Okay. So by using data transfer transformation, we can integrate the data. It will do push down optimization, right? Later we will discuss. I will just giving you some overview about all these transformations, some theoretical knowledge. Like if someone asks you what is data integrator and what are the transformations that are available in data integrator, so you need to answer those questions, right? So for that you need some knowledge. So I will tell you like what all are these transformations will do and how we will going to use these transformations. What is the exact scenario to use these transformations? So after knowing this, we will get to know like practically how can we do this one. So real-time scenarios, how can we do that? So that way we are going to learn about all these transformations. So coming to data transfer. Data transfer, one of the data integrated transformations in BODS. So where like whenever we have one scenario, there are a couple of scenarios in which I can tell you one example where you know there are huge amount of data which will be coming from source, and that huge amount of data we must load into some target. Okay, so that time anyhow it will process the data. There is no doubt in that, because this BODS tool have that type of capability. But in between, user will ask you like, see, while processing this data, I'm having some delay, it was taking more hours to process the data. So I just want to have some faster processing of the data. Okay, so at that time you can make use of this data transfer transformation, and this data transfer transformation have some limitations, because see, these data transfer transformations you can make use in between when you transfer the data from a table to table or file to file, whatever it may be, whatever the source, whatever the target. So you can use this data transfer transformation between two queries only. Query means query is one of the transformations, that is a platform transformation. So in between two queries only, we can make use of this data transfer transformation. If we use this data transfer transformation, the data flow will be moving through this data transfer transformation, and it will do push down optimization. I think you might aware of what is push down optimization, right? In BODS, sorry, in database level. Can someone know what is push down optimization? Hello?
No, Venkat, we don't have that. Ideas. So can you explain that one? So pull down.
Yeah. So push down optimization is nothing but, see, whenever in a database, whenever we have some performance tuning, we just want to process the data very faster. We need to run the particular thread or particular whatever the query, whichever we have. So we need to process that type of query or that type of what we call task very much faster than previous. So that time what it will do, it will consume some memory from the database server, and it will try to process the data. So if you have idea about, like, whenever there are a couple of things are running in a database, right? So in parallel processing, a couple of process are running in backend. If you trigger a query, then that process will be triggered in backend of a database server. So that time it will consume some cache memory. But whenever you are going to use this push down optimization, so that time what happens, it will consume more memory than other processes which are running in parallel. So that time what happens, it will take all, it will will give a lower priority to the all the process and give high priority to this particular process to process the data from one system to another system. So that is where we are coming into this data transfer transformation. So by using this data transfer transformation, if we make use of this, it will go to the database and say, hey, give me some memory space so that where I can process my BODS data processing from one place to another place. In that case, what happens, if you consider, if you compare, right, while after making use of this data transfer transformation, the job might reduce. If it is running for 8 hours, out of 8 hours duration, it might reduce to half of the duration, like it might reduce to 4 hours, it might reduce to 3 hours. So that is the main advantage of data transfer transformation. Okay, so that's what. And this transformation have disadvantages as well. So if we make use of this transformation, so what happens, it will like have some burden on database server, where other operations will not complete as usual time, because those operations will be delayed for some time until and unless this operation will completed from BODS server. You understand this point, right?
Yes, Venkat.
Yeah. So that is what the data transfer transformation. So now coming to date generation. Date generation is nothing but, it is a transformation where we can generate some date values between the dates. For example, if you want to have some date values in between the dates, I just want to increment my dates from last 2021 January 1st to till today's date. I just want to iterate the dates based on one day, like from Jan 21st, Jan 1st, 2022 till today date. It will process day one by one, not only one by one. You can give weekly one date, or what is the whatever the frequency that you want, either daily or weekly or monthly or quarterly or yearly. So whatever the frequency that you can give, so it will iterate the next date and it will load the data into table or file, whichever you want. So that is the date generation transformation. Effective date. Effective date, whenever you work on like
So Venkat, before that, the date transformation we can use as a source in a data flow. We can generate the time dimension, right? We
yes,
can
yes,
using the
yes, correct. We can use make use of source.
source only, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
that is,
Venkat.
yeah. Any other questions regarding data transfer or date generation?
So like we can do the incremental also. For example, for the initial load we loaded for 5 years in from 2020 to 01 to like we loaded for next to 5 years. After that, you want to load again next 5 years. We can increment load. We
Yeah,
can,
you can do anything. If you want to change something, yeah, you can do. Obviously, that can be possible.
because already we loaded for 5 years and already generated some surrogate keys. Already those surrogate keys already referring into some other fact table. So in future we can append the data, right? Instead of they
Yes,
trying to
yes.
generate
Yeah,
load.
that can be possible.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Venkat Shravan here. Please repeat the concept again.
Shravan, your voice was too low. Can you?
Yeah, please repeat the concept, date generation.
Yeah. Date generation is nothing but, it is a data integrator transformation. So if you want to generate some date values between some duration, for example, you want to have a date range between like 1st of January 2022 till today. You want to have each day dates should be loaded into some of the column in your table. So manually, you need, if you can write a function, then that's okay. If you can write a log list, even that also can be possible. But instead of going there, we can go to this date generation transformation. So you can give the date ranges in between what is the frequency you want, whether you want to have every day dates or every week dates or every month dates or every quarterly dates or yearly dates. So these type of options will be available in date generation transformation. So in that you can generate the dates and load it into whatever the table that you want. Understood now?
Yeah, got it.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. So let me move into next transformations. This,
Yeah, Venkat. Sorry.
yeah.
Can we use can we create buckets using this date generation?
Yeah, we can do that one. I'm just giving overview of this transformation for now. When it comes to practical, then I will show you how it will generate the date values. How can we load the data into a table?
Okay.
Yeah. Then next transformation would be like effective date. Effective date, as name itself, it was saying like if we want to have some effective date whenever we go for a SCD type 2, right? So that time, if you want to have some effective date or some default value, then this will generate some effective date values and it will place that particular date value into the target table. So that is the advantage of effective date transformation. And next transformation is the hierarchy flattening. Hierarchy flattening, it is something like, in our organization, how we categorize our hierarchies, right? Like manager, under manager, like senior software developer, team lead. Under that team lead, we have some senior software developer. Under that, we have junior developers, something like that. So how this hierarchy was following, right? Either we can go from up to down or down to up. So that type of hierarchies we can have by using these hierarchy flattening transformations. So this was the transformation we can use very rare case. It was not used in every scenarios. In real-time scenarios also, you are not going to use. Maybe if you are working on some migration projects, like, in very rare case, 95% you won't use this transformation. At 5% you can use in your project.
So
So
Venkat,
that's,
when we use like it will convert to flat to hierarchy or hierarchy to flat structure, it will convert which when we use this
it will convert like flat to hierarchy only.
flat to hierarchy. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So
like that.
reverse scenario is not applicable. I mean hierarchy. If you have a
Yeah,
hierarchy structure in
reverse
it,
also it can be possible. That depends on like how table data was.
okay.
There are two options will be available. So once we go in depth, then I can explain you all those things.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is what hierarchy flattening transformation. Coming to history preserving, one of the most important transformation in PODS. History preserving is nothing but it will preserve the history, and whenever you implement some SCD type 2, right? So that time it will compare the records, and it will have some we have this what we call the start date, end date, and flag values. So to calculate all of those, what will be the flag value, the flag value that should be given to a particular record, which is coming from input, or what is the start date, what is the end date, based on our definitions, everything we can be defined by using this history preserving. It will be mainly used for to preserve the history. It will use to like compare whatever the incoming records that are coming from a table comparison based on some primary key defined, and we can have differentiate between primary keys and non-primary keys. We can give what is the start date column, what is the end date column, what is the default date value column, how can we want to have the flag values, and all of these options are available in history preserving transformations. Okay.
So mostly we use that in SCD type 2, right?
Yeah, mostly we will be using this transformation in SCD type 2. But some other Delta jobs are there, right? Like whichever having like a few of the scenarios whenever we implement some SCD type 3, like it should have like say updated record and new record. So that time we will go for table comparison and map operation. But whenever we are going for SCD type 2, that time we will have this history preserving transformations.
Okay.
Yeah. Now key generation. So name itself it was same. So if you want to have some key generated to be generated for a particular column, then we are going for this key generation transformation. There is no much overview of this key generation transformation, and it won't most of the times we won't use this key generation, because in our nowadays people are defining some keys and some sequence numbers whenever we are going for this SCD type of implementations. That time by default table itself it was containing, so we no need to use this key generation transformation. But if it is needed, then yeah, obviously we can make use of these transformations. Okay. Now
So I tried this one, Venkat. So is it when we use that table comparison, then the key generation is working? Suppose if there is no I have a source and I have a target in between, can I use that key generation?
yeah.
Okay, this part I will check with, because in source I have 3 fields. In target I added one surrogate key in that, so I'm trying to generate this key. It's not working. When I use the table comparison, then the key is generating and it's inserting
Yeah,
the data.
because see, whenever you generating key rise for that particular column, so that primary key column should be included in your table comparison. So without using table comparison, if you use this key generation, it won't work for you.
Yeah, that is I'm asking. So the table comparison is required, right? If you use
Yeah,
the
table comparison is required for this.
so we can generate from functions also, right? In a SQL transformation, we have function also, right?
Yeah, we have like rows and functions, or
So
we have,
in that scenario also the table comparison is required. So
no, that scenario, that is a simple thing. Like we have what we called some transformations is there, like maybe that is a platform transformations. Yeah, row generation transformation. So this row generation transformation, what it will do, like it will generate some sequence number. This is different and this is different.
I know that one, Venkat. So the key generation based on the target table, it will take the latest value and from that it will insert, right? So yes. Maybe generate column is just automatic, like the sequence number it will give. I'm
sequence
talking
number,
about,
yeah, that's.
I'm talking about the only key generation. In key generation, we have one function actually. In that, we need to pass the table name and column name and what is the incremental value. Something we put 1.
Yeah,
so it will
like key generation, it will give like some based on some primary key columns, right? It will generate some key for it. For example, you mentioned like surrogate keys, right? So if the surrogate key was same, then it will give some value to 1. If the surrogate key value was changed, it will take the value to 2. So like that, it will generate the key values.
Yes. So my question is, the table comparison is must when if you use that key generation, right? Or not required?
No, if you want to use, you can use. So table comparison, it's only to compare the values between source and target. It will just differentiate like what all are the updated records, what all are the inserted records. That is the main use of table.
Okay, Venkat, we can see in the practice. So we can take the source, we can just I can dump the data from source to target. In between, I can use the key generation. Right? That part we can test.
Yes,
because
yes,
I'm getting some error. Okay, Venkat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, good. Continue.
So that is all about key generation. Now coming to map CDC. So this map CDC is nothing but like, so whenever there is something like, source based CDC was happening. Source based CDC means CDC is nothing but its full form is change data capturing. So whenever there is some changes in the source, and if we want to identify those source, it's similar to our table comparison, but table comparison is like it is a target based comparison, because whatever the source data is coming, so that data should be compared with target table, and then based on that it will differentiate insert records and updated records and load it into target table. But while coming to map CDC operation, it won't compare any data in the target. It directly compare the data with source itself. So if any changes are happened, so it will differentiate those two records and directly it will send to target table. So while using this map CDC operation, you need to define two what is the type of operation that you want to do, and what is the flag value for it. DI map something, two type of columns will be there in this map CDC operation. So while doing practical session, we can discuss about this map CDC operation in detail. So that is the main advantage of map CDC operation is it can be identify the whatever the changes that are happening at source table itself. So while using these transformations, there should be CDC should be enabled on a particular table. Then only we can make use of this map CDC operation. Otherwise, if we use this transformation, then it won't work properly and it won't give us the expected result. Okay, clear, right?
CDC enable on the source table, right? Not on the target.
Yes. Moreover, we can call it as a like source based CDC. Any questions till now?
So, do you have any idea, like, can we enable CDC in HANA tables? Because I know that I know about that SQL Server, we can enable the CDC, okay, but I don't know about the HANA table. Can we enable CDC, or do you have any idea?
No, I don't have that much of idea whether we can enable or not in HANA table level.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Now moving to pivot. Pivot is nothing but it will convert columns to rows. So in a table, if we want to convert some column data to rows, then we are going for this pivot transformation. And this pivot transformation, we have a couple of options, where we can generate some sequence numbers for our generated rows, and we can have like we can what if the particular column, if we don't want to have the pivot, so that we can give that pivot column and non-pivot column as well. So those type of options also available. And so while converting columns into rows, right? So what all are the values? What is the header value and what is the like column value that we want to change? So that information we need to give as a group, so that it will convert a column from a rows. That's how pivot transformation will work. Now coming to reverse pivot transformation, it is quite opposite to pivot transformation. We can convert rows into columns by using this reverse pivot transformations. Okay. And the table comparison, as it was the one of the famous transformation in BODS. Like by using this table comparison transformation, we can have, we can compare the incoming source data and with the target table, and it can be differentiate between updated records and new records which are coming from the source. And it's the table comparison, it's always takes the updated data and it will give the updated data as a output through this table comparison. And in this table comparison, there are a couple of options are there, like we need to differentiate between like primary key columns, non-primary key columns, and if the primary key was not defined, then we can choose the primary key on by default. And there are three comparison methods are there, like sorted input, row by row, and catchy comparison. So these type of comparison methods are there. So we will get to know like what is when we can use these three type of comparison methods, on which scenario we are going to use all these comparison method. So whenever we make use of this table comparison, right, we will get to know. Now coming to XML pipeline. Its XML pipeline is nothing but like, whenever there is some XML file processing, when is some nested XML schemas or XML format data is there. So that time it will read that XML data and it will be do unnesting, and it will load the data into table or file, wherever we want. So that is the use of XML pipeline transformations. So out of all these data integration transformations, most of the cases we will be going to use data transfer whenever we have some performance tuning, date generation, and then history preserving, and then a few of the times this key generation and map CDC, and very rare case pivot and reverse pivot based on the requirement, and table comparison is the mostly used transformation. So other than these transformations, we won't use much time like XML pipeline, and then this hierarchy flattening and this effective date transformation. So out of these many transformations, other than these three, we will be making use of all these transformations in our real-time project. Any questions till now? Don't have any questions? Okay. So let us move into this slide deck. So yeah, whatever I explained, right? So date generation transformation is used for creating time dimension tables. This transform generates a column which holds the date values based on the start and end dates provided as input to the transformation by considering the increment provided to it. So I mentioned you right. So based on the duration of the dates whichever we give, it will generate some date dimension table. So based on the increment value, if we want to increment the day by day or weekly or monthly or quarterly or half-yearly or yearly, so it will increment that value. That is the date generation transformation. So if you go here, see, as we have one example here, so we can directly make use of this date generation transformation. We can take directly date generation transformation, and from this we can make use of one query transformation, and directly we can map that value to one of the table to load the data. Okay, this is how it will work. Any questions?
No.
Okay. See here, these are the options: start date, end date, increment, join rank. Join rank, like it was nothing but like one of the performance tuning option. This was join rank. By default, it was 0. If you are having huge amount of like processing, right? So then only you can increase this join rank to 10, 100, 200 till highest value was 5,000. Okay, cache. If you enable that cache, then it will make use of like BODS server memory, and again it will be impact on BODS database only, whichever on which database server we have configured our local repository. Okay. Any questions? Shall I move to next slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So yeah. So from these date generation transformations, right? We can, if we want to have any of the formats, so we can make use of some default functions which are available in BODS, and we can have our whatever we want, and we can have to load the data. And once we have this right, we can make use of one template table, and if we can run the job, then it will give these values like this. This was the DI generated date, which is coming from the date generation transformation. And from there, this date column, we have defined the format here. And from this, we are taking the day. And from this, we are taking the week. And from this, we are taking the month. From this, we are taking the year. Like this. So there are 4 categories as we discussed before: data integrator, data quality, platform, text data processing. So these are 4 types of transformations that we have. So we have discussed about all these data integrator transformations, right? So any questions from this list?
Have a question. This
Yeah,
is in BODS. Do you have a transformation that will work to hierarchy?
This hierarchy flattening.
The SAP hierarchy.
No, till now I haven't used this hierarchy flattening in my real-time projects at anywhere.
Okay.
But training purpose, we have some basic idea. If you want to have some basic idea, then I can try to provide some basic idea about this hierarchy flattening.
Yes, I want to understand that, but maybe sometime later when we do our exercises, I'm gonna have someone on our end to to create or extract a hierarchy.
Yeah.
If
Sure, Mary. Yeah.
I want to use that as a test case on our
Yes. Yep. Any other questions or any other clarifications? Okay. So data transfer, we have already discussed about this data transfer transformations. Any questions here? If you want me to explain one more time, then I can explain.
No, Venkat, we can start that, practice so that you can easily understand.
Yeah. So after this presentation, we will start the practical. Like yesterday also, I have not explained very much, right? So that practical session along with today's, we will do.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, just go through this document, like this presentation slides. If we don't have any questions, then you can ask me. So no questions, right, from this slide deck? Okay. Yeah. So can you answer these assessment questions? Can someone answer first question?
Select the type of transformation from the fund. All are transformations.
Yeah. Correct. So no clarifications required, right?
No.
What is the answer for second question?
So then push down data first one, data transfer.
Yep. So clear, right? No clarifications required. Yep. Third question.
Reverse pivot.
First pivot. Yeah.
Yes. Fourth one.
Which of the following basis the type of
A and B.
purchase?
Which one?
Of the following basis type of transformation.
Any guess?
Maybe
Is it
version.
Yeah, is it
version.
the version?
Yeah. Version and product purchased.
Oh, so it's A
Option
and
C.
B. Okay.
Yeah, it
That
depends on like the version that we purchased and yeah. What about fifth one?
Quality transformation, cost standardization.
it's all of the above.
All of them.
Yes. What about sixth one? Sixth one, I think we haven't covered yet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Generate, map, merge, or
Generate.
well, all of the above.
Yes. What about seventh one? Data integration and transformations are used for?
All of the above.
Yep. What about the eighth one?
To process large XML input.
XML pipeline transform.
Yes. What about ninth one?
Joins group is not. All of the above.
All of the above.
Yeah. What about the 10th one?
Check the upper code schema.
Columns functions in the primary. All of the above.
All of the above.
Yes. Correct. Okay.
Can you later on the exercises, I don't know if you have a topic or sample, can you show us or tell us more of the large XML pipeline? One of the question.
Yes, sure, Mario. Okay. So from yesterday's module, let me go to the practical sessions like about the designer components and admin management console. So I will show you like how the jobs, how can we check the jobs, how can we monitor the jobs, how do we do the support activities, how do we schedule a job, how can we enable the schedule, how do we deactivate the schedule, how do we remove a job, how do we see the trace error and monitor logs of a job from the console. So that things I will be going to discuss today. So you can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is our management console. Sorry?
No.
Yeah, this was the home page. Yesterday we have already discussed. And these all are the associated repositories with this particular BODS. So from this, we are going to use this repository for our practice sessions. And from these repositories, we have all these jobs that are having in different project. Okay. So as I told you, right? So yeah, select, see here checkbox are there for each job. If you want to delete this job, right? We can delete that one. Or if you want to delete any of the previous jobs, you can select this, you can click on this delete button. So previously, see, we have two Karun underscore job, now we have only one. So it will delete in backend, like in the bin folder, you can see the trace, error and monitor logs, but this job log we can't see. But in backend metadata table, we can see how many times the job was triggered, how many times, what is the duration of the job. So all this information will be available, but here in the console tab, we cannot see this. Okay. So here, see in this drop down, you can see all the list of the jobs which all are available in this particular repository under certain project folders. So you can see all the jobs here. If you want to see any of the job logs, so you can select that job. You can click on this last 5 days and you can do search. So there is no jobs. There is no job triggered from last 5 days. So only it won't provide any list. For example, So this job was triggered many times, right, today. So we can take this job and we can copy this one, we can paste this one, and we can see the last execution of 5 days. And if you click on search, it will give how many times it was triggered from last 5 days. So this type of logs we can see here. So this is the most important whenever you monitor the jobs, whenever you are going for support. So you can select that particular job and paste that job, and you can choose whatever the options. So as I told you, right, last execution of the job. If you select this option, it will give only top one. See, the latest one. It won't give today 5 to 6 times this job was triggered, right? The older jobs it won't give. Only the latest one it will give. That is
Where
the
you can say this job got executed a couple of times in a day.
sorry?
Second option.
Second option, yeah. See, if you select this
Okay.
second option, you will get all that is job information.
Okay.
Got my point, right?
Yeah.
In first option, it will not give the failed one, right? Once the only success.
No, not failed one. It's not failure or success. It will give only the topmost, the latest success or failure of the job. See, 12, 16, 45 seconds, this job was success, right? Success or fail, if it is, if the job was failed also.
Last execution, latest execution.
Last latest execution it will give. So if I select this one, see here, 12, 16, 49, remaining all are gone.
Okay, got it.
Where we can see the job log.
Job log, here you can see trace. You can have monitor. You can have error logs.
Yeah, pick up the failure job log once.
Sorry?
Pick up the failure job log.
Yeah, even that can also possible.
Yeah.
From this you can see the error.
Very unspecified name was not found in data.
Yeah, it will give like at which level you got the error. So here the job of the name of the job, and then data flow name, and what is the error message that you are getting. Okay. Here the monitor log. How many records are processed from? This was the source. Okay, from source, how many records you got? From this query transformations, how many records you process? From the into the target table, how many records it has loaded the data. So state, there are 3 type of state will be there whenever you run a job. One is like ready state. So ready means it will start processing the records. Once the data flow execution was started, right? It will come under ready state. So in that ready state, it will store some metadata inside the repository. And once the data processing was started, right, then from ready state to proceed state, it will come. So once the data load was done, then it will come to stop state. That's how it will work. And in between, if there are any failures will happen, it might be stop rate like ready state, or if the initial stage only, if the failure was done, then it will be ready state only. Or in middle, like after processing few of the records, if it is failed in middle, so you will get that into proceed state.
What if a job got hanged?
Even that also proceed state only.
How we identify that this job got hanged, and if it is going to take longer time than expected?
If you come to here trace log, right, you need to like refresh this page. So whenever you have something like, in this print statements will come. Like if somewhere, like for example here, like like see 12, 16, 50, it was got stopped. After this, it was not moving even after 2 to 3 times of refresh of this page. So that case, you can say like, okay, job might get struck. So this was confirmation of like 50% of confirmation you got. Next, you will move to monitor log. There, what happens, So here, some record count will be there, right? So you will be waiting for like 5 minutes, 2 minutes, or 1 minute. And you need to take one screenshot of this. If you remember the row count value, then that's okay. If you are not remember that, you can take the snap of this one. And if you click on this one, after refreshing, if the record count was increasing, then yeah, job was running. If not increasing, then it got stuck. You can wait for 10 to 15 minutes or whatever it may be. Depends on data volume. If still the situation was same, if the record counts are not moving here, then you identify like, okay, my job got struck. So that time you can come here, like batch of status. You can select that job and you can click on abort. Clear, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you go to the repository schedulers so that we can check this job when it is again scheduled to execute?
Yes.
So, okay.
So if I open any of the enable schedule, yeah, you can see like here this schedule was active. This was the schedule name. And this schedule was every month 6th. It will run at 4 o'clock, 4:29 p.m. And this was the global variable setup.
What is this global variables?
Global variables, like if you want to have some values to be hold in that variable, so we can make use of global variable in a job. There are global variable, local variable, parameters, and substitution parameter. 4 type of things are there in BODS. Whenever we go into implement some job, I can explain you those.
Okay, so it is something like a specific job need to be executed on 5th of every month, or else
No,
end of the
not like that.
Basically,
Not
the
like
input values, input
input
parameters.
values. Yeah, we can say input values.
no.
Suppose in your job using any like filtering some
Yeah,
physical period
filtering. For
something.
example,
So
like
if you
whenever
mention
you
this one,
implement
it
some
will
delta
keep
job,
process the
right?
only particular
Yeah, you
basically
want to exclude
filters.
that job between some dates, you can make use of this global variable.
Okay.
In that scenario, global variable will work. Or you can have some file path defined, right? So in that case also you can make itself some value holder.
Okay, where we create these global variables?
The designer itself only, here itself.
Designer.
If you click on
Okay.
this job, then if you click here, variables. Here G means global variables, V means local variables. Right click instead.
Okay, why we have to global and other one is a variable?
See, global means inside a job, you can reuse this global variable at any time, at any level, I can say.
In another job as well?
No, on that job only, you can use different level. For example, your job having 4 workflows, 2 data flows. Okay, so you want to use at each place this variable. So you cannot create a single variable for multiple times, right?
Yeah.
So that time you can create one global variable and you can reuse that global variable value into your different workflows or different data flows.
Okay, so when it comes to variable?
When it comes to variable, it was stick to any of the workflow and data flow only. For example, so if you create one variable here, right? So outside, so in this job only, you can use this local variable. For example, if you created one local variable inside a workflow, like here one workflow is there. if you go inside this workflow, and if you want to, if you have to create, so global variable we can't create here, we can see the global variable. So if you want to create any local variable, you can go click inside. So this variable value inside this workflow only you can use. Outside of this workflow, it will throw and it will throw an error and it won't visible as well. So I have created this variable, right? So any variable name should be start with $test. I have created one global one local variable here. So inside this new workflow, I can see this variable. Okay, I have defined this. Now what happened? I will take one more data workflow, and if I go inside this workflow, I won't see this variable C. Whatever the variable that I have defined here in 62, I will see that variable in 63. So if I want to see that variable inside this 63, right? What I can do is I can take this workflow inside this workflow, and if I click on this variable, I can see now. See.
Yeah. So do we have any system predefined variables available here?
System defined?
Yeah.
No, system defined variables don't have.
We don't have.
If we want, we can create. Then we can reuse those.
Okay.
Okay, like this it was. So now coming back to our scheduler. So like this was already scheduled, right? It was active as well. So you might get a doubt, right? Like on some day, users come to us and they want us to change the schedule. So they want the every month 15th of the schedule. So how can you modify the schedule? Any idea?
In this screen only we can change it. If we have a permissions, we can change the start
Yeah,
time.
directly we can change here. But before changing to before we make any changes, right? You can deactivate the schedule first.
Okay.
Okay. Then only all the options will be enabled for you. See here, before it was not enabled. Start time, these options are not enabled for us. Even this option also not enabled for us. Yes. Now what happened? So we want to schedule it every month 15th, right? 6th. 6th I was disabled, every month 15th. Then every month means recurring. If you want only 1 month, it should be run, then you no need to select this recurring option. Recurring means every month 15th. It should be repeated. That is the recurring option. Or if you want to schedule it daily, you can choose all of this. Okay, like this you can choose all the dates. Or the easiest way was day of the month, instead of day of the month, you can go day of the week, you can choose weeks as well. If you choose all the weeks, if you choose recurring, so whatever the time that they want, you can give that time. I just want to have this job should be run on every day 6 p.m. Okay, so I can choose this one. Once I selected this one, so whatever the changes, whatever the global variable configuration I just want to have, I can, if I do apply. If I do apply, I should select this active again. Then only I can do apply. Otherwise, this schedule will not be activated. Okay. So I haven't make any. I made these changes, right? I haven't clicked on apply button. So this schedule will be deactivated, but it won't change any value inside it. So I close this window and if I open this one, so anyhow this was first deactivated. So you know, right, whatever the changes that I made, see. So still these changes are not affected. Only it was on deactivate state, but whatever the changes that I did, so it was not affected here. until and unless I click on apply button here. Okay. So now if I want to activate again, even I can do activate here, or I can directly go here. I can select this one. I can do active. But here I need to refresh this page. So now it was active state. As you see, these options are disabled here. See, we cannot make changes, anything here. Even here also we cannot make any changes. Clear, right? Till now?
Yes.
Any questions?
Yeah, Venkat. I see there is in select a scheduler, we have two options: data service scheduler and BOE scheduler. What's the use of the other option?
BOE scheduler, it was like if you are going to use any of the third-party scheduler, right? That time you can go for this. Most of the times we are not using this. If we are going to use internal scheduler, then we will choose the data services scheduler.
Okay, so where we can get the alert to our email, or if any job got successfully completed or failed job, where we can
Here
see?
you won't see that options.
Okay.
If you want to configure anything, like for suppose this data flow was there, right? I can have one try block and one catch block to be defined. I should map these to this thing, and inside this I can take directly one script, make use of this script, and I can make use of SMTP to function. So if you come this side, so it will show you like what all are the parameters that was required. I told you, right? First parameter was descriptions list.
Okay.
So you can give any number of email addresses here. First parameter. Second parameter, right? Right? You can give the subject line of that particular email. And then a little message if you want to give some description. So you can give description. And I told you, right, yesterday, how many number of trace lines you want from the log. It will give top 10 lines, top 20, top 30, top 50, whatever the number that you gave here. Error log, monitor log we won't get. Only trace and error log only we will get.
So this is in this scenario, it's applicable for only data flow level, right? If any issues on the data flow level, then it will trigger, right?
Yes.
So for
Even
example,
you can use this try catch at the workflow level as
well. Workflow level also. If any issues on the workflow level, then it will trigger.
Yeah. See, most of the times we will get the issue at data flow level only.
Sometimes the connection issues fail, right? That is, before
No,
data.
the connection as well, it will check from data flow level itself.
Okay.
So if you do this also, even it will possible.
Now, for example, the server is not available, so server is restarted or shut down something. So server is not available, the data flow will not.
Even if server is not available, it won't go inside of this. Even if the job itself not start, right?
So Venkat, so when it comes to the flow, moving the data from source to the target, so job flow, workflow, and the data flow, can we, is it a SAP standard flow, or else can we skip this workflow in between job?
Yeah, in a job is must. We can skip workflow.
Okay, then why we are using the workflow in between these?
Workflow is nothing but, if you have multiple, if you want to define some variables, okay, some local variables inside that, if you may have some couple of operations, you can make use of workflow. That is the main advantage of workflow. Even see, if you won't use workflow here, you can directly take the data flow, you can trigger the job. But in some jobs with single data flow, it won't possible. In single data flow, you need to define many variables, you need to define scripts, because script you can write outside or out, either inside a job or inside a workflow or outside a workflow. But script you cannot write inside a data flow. See here, this option was not enabled. Okay, so inside a workflow you can write a script here. You got my point, right?
Yeah.
So that is the main advantage of the workflow. A data flow, it's just inside this we can make use of source, target, transformations, whichever we want. But as a best practice, if you are need or don't need, you must use as a standard format a job like in BODS repository. Whenever you develop some project, you must have one project folder for you, and then inside that you have n number of jobs. In that jobs you can have one workflow. Inside a workflow you can have n number of workflows, and in that workflow you can have scripts and data flows. Even inside a job you can have script, workflow, data flow as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions till now? So after you have any questions?
Schedule one, the other window.
Sorry?
Go to that schedule management console. Can you go to?
Yeah.
So here where we can mention that the dependencies of suppose first I want to run this job, then I want to run this job, where we can mention
No,
that.
here you can't do anything.
Okay, here, okay, so where we can mention that?
So here it won't possible, but in this batch job configuration, you know, so directly we can do one job after one completion of one job, another job should trigger, right?
Yes, yes.
So that thing it won't happen in BODS directly. Either you should go for a batch script. So here I told you, no, export execution command. If you click on this, you will get one batch file to be generated for you. Okay. So if you click on export, right, one .bat file will be generated. .bat file while making use of one script. Okay, in this script, so you can use this execute function. So this function requires file name. File name means along with this path. And if it requires any arguments, you can give arguments. If it not, then you can what we call you can leave it as null. Null means like a single inverted comma only, without any value inside it. And then flags. Flag means you can give any of the value 1, 2, or something, anything you can give. So
it will trigger that job, right?
That batch, that Windows batch file, it will trigger. From there, it will run the job from the Windows command.
In the configuration, we don't have that option.
No, no, there is no any option to sequentially execute a job.
So, for example, suppose I have like, for example, we have one area, like we have 100 jobs. So in the sequence, I want to execute. So you need to mention the 100 these tweaks. We need to maintain that one.
Yes, yes, that is the only way. There is no any alternate way we have. For example, like there are a couple of jobs. Don't go for 100. Let understand it for 5 to 6 jobs. There are 6 jobs are there in which you want to execute. You need to execute all the 6 jobs sequentially. So you have scheduled only one job out of 6 jobs. You have scheduled one. In the first job, you have kept this exec command. 1 second. Yeah, sorry. So one job you have scheduled. So end of that job, you have one batch command. For example, this was the first job. Okay. In this first job, end of this job, you have one batch script. here.
Here we can mention remaining all.
You can mention, no, in single job you cannot mention. Here you can call one job. So whatever the job that you are calling, right? The second job, that
Yes.
end of second job, you can call the third job.
Okay.
The end of the third job, you can call the fourth job. That end of the fourth job, you can call the fifth job. Like this, you need to do. In a
Okay.
single job, you cannot call, or else you can have while loop as well. You can implement some while script to execute one by one.
Or like, for example, if I have 5, batch jobs. So in the, I will take one more new job for batch job. In that job, I can call all the jobs. I will put all the sequence in the script in 5 scripts. We can give the connectivity, so it will execute the sequence, right?
Yeah.
I will take in new. That is only specific to call. Call the jobs only. So I will take one
I
batch
haven't
job.
tried one scenario, like how this sequential execution will happen. Like, yeah, you told like there is one more job you can take. In that, you can take only one script. You can have this 5 execute commands, right?
No. Suppose I have five batch jobs. Okay, on the project I have 5 batch jobs. Those are the actual extracting data from source to different targets. I have 5 batch jobs. Okay, I will take the new one, the 6th one. That is for only specific to call the jobs actually.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You are taking the 6th job to call the previous 5 jobs. The 6th job only you have scheduled.
Yeah,
In that, you took one script.
in the 6th job, I will take 5 script component. I will put one by one in the sequence. I will give the connectivity. It will execute the sequence, right?
Yeah, while sequence number wise, you can execute that.
Okay.
You can. That's what I'm saying. So, see, in the script, you can place the script inside a while loop. You can increment that while loop value by 1. So once the false condition was done, right, then it will go to the job will be stopped. But directly, if you want to have like without using any while loop or something, if you write only 5 exec comments for 5 jobs, it won't work for you.
No, Venkat, like what I'm saying, so in the new batch job, in workflow level, I will take 5 script component. I will write only one in the each script component. I will give the connectivity so that it will
Yeah,
execute
that
the
case it will work. Yeah. Yeah, if you take 5 workflows, inside 5 workflows, if you take 5 script, if you define 5 exec comments, then that will work as well.
in one workflow we can take 5 script components, right?
Yeah, even that can also possible. Like this you are saying, right? In this workflow.
Here I will take 5 components, script component.
Script,
I will
and then second script you can.
This is I'm talking.
And then you can map this. Yeah, but for 100 jobs you cannot take 100 scripts right here. Instead of taking all these scripts, you can write one. You can write the exec command, and based on that you can define some increment value like while loop. You can increment that while loop. If that particular value was 1, then it will execute the first thing. If the value was second, then it will execute the second one and then third one. But there is one disadvantage was there in that. In middle, if the script job was failed, right, so it will not execute the next job.
Okay.
Yeah, that is the disadvantage.
So in this scenario, there is no any disadvantage. We can execute if it suppose first executed, second is failed. So
yeah, in this case you no need to connect as well. Oh yeah, if it is dependent, then you need
dependency.
yeah, if it is dependency, then you can do this way. If you want to parallel execution, directly you can schedule the job.
Okay, parallel. Yeah, okay.
So, but if there are dependency on any of the tables, right? So better you can go for this workflow level only. For example, see, one table was loaded only, then only you will get the second table, right? Second table data. In that case, instead of creating multiple jobs, you can take multiple workflows. One by one, you can execute, right, in a single job. No need to go for multiple jobs as well, right? Instead of going multiple jobs, you have multiple workflows you can use.
but the maintenance will be the difficult, right? If you each dimension we have one batch of those, that is the we can maintenance is easy. So in each workflow we can maintain, we can load the 10 or 15 20 dimensions. So the maintenance will be difficult, right? In that case.
Yeah, maintenance won't be difficult. If you take more jobs, then only it will be difficult. In a single job, you can do that thing, right? See, anyhow, for example, you are talking about dimension tables. So whatever the dimension table you want to load, you can have all those dimension table defined in a workflow. So once this workflow was done, you can trigger another workflow in the same job.
No, like for example, in future, I want to run only specific dimensions. How can I run that? So in workflow, I have
You
10
can bypass this one. You have this bypass. If you don't want to run this workflow.
Manually, manually, I need to open and do that one, right? If I already scheduled in production, how can I run that specific dimension? Okay.
In that case, you can make use of control table or some active deactive flag. For example, so there are a couple of variables you have defined here. You can take one conditional flow. In this conditional flow, you can define like active, like some variable you can define like G underscore active. If it is 1, then only your data flow, whatever the data flow was there here, right? This data flow should execute. If it is not active, then it will print like this data flow. You can have some print statement or you can leave it, it's null. Even that case also possible. But yeah, you can try both the ways, but the best way was this one only. In a single job, you can have multiple workflows. You can execute them one by one.
Okay.
You can do both way, but that approach was a little difficult, but this approach was standard approach. Any questions?
No.
Okay. So scheduler clear, right? This repository schedules. So if you want to have a new schedule, right? So there is, you have developed the job and it was moved to production, and first time you need to schedule that job. So for example, so this Surya underscore job one, I just want to add this schedule. So I can come to batch up configuration and I can go to this add schedule, and then whatever the schedule, whatever are the parameters that I want, I can give. So there is one more thing was there here, see. So if I want to run a jobs multiple times in a day, so this option for once a day, right? If I want to have multiple times a day, so I can go for this option. I need to give what is the start time. It's like at what time, from what time your job execution will be started. So that is the start time we need to give, hours, minutes, and from which time, AM or PM, duration. So by default it was 1440. 1440 means like 24 into 60. If we do 24 into 60, yeah, 1440 only. So in minutes we should give what is the duration. We can give the 24 hours because we don't know, right, how much time that particular job should run. At initial stage we can give 1440, and you can give 60 minutes and 120, whatever you want, but maximum value was 1440 and repeated interval in minutes. So how much time? If it is like 15 minutes, then you can give 15. If it is 30 minutes, then you can give 30. If it is like every 1 hour, then you can give 60. If it is like every 60 hours, like, right, then 360 you can give. Like this, you can give multiple times a day. And here you can select a daily multiple times. That means daily multiple times every 60 hours. So this is the logic. Now your schedule was active. It will run for daily. Every day the start time would be 1 a.m. Like every day from 1 a.m. it will calculate the 6 hours. So 1 a.m. to 6 hours means 7 a.m. The next schedule, 1 a.m. the job will start the schedule, and the next schedule was 7 a.m. So after 7 a.m. what is the 6 hours? 7 plus 6, 13. That means 1 p.m. again it will schedule. And if you click on apply, then that will be done. So like this, initially you can schedule the job multiple times per day, and only once per day. If you select this option, then 5:25 p.m. every day the job will be running.
So in multiple times in a day. So if the first schedule is failed after 6 hours, it will trigger again, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
It doesn't look for whether job is success or failure. Scheduler is different. Job running status is different. It's the first schedule was failed. Second schedule, obviously, it will start automatically. It doesn't look for whether the previous job was success, previous schedule job was success or failed.
Okay.
Any questions here? No, right? Okay. So that's all about scheduler. And batch job configurations. So here we can see all the projects here, because we selected here all projects. If you want to have only one project, so it will give only one project job. Like this it will come. That is the batch job configuration tab. And batch job status. Here you can see all the batch job status, which all are the jobs ran today. And we have like next page option as well. You can move to next page here as well. See, this job was running, see. So here if you want to check, so whether this job was struck or something, see, it was struck here. There is no monitor log, there is no error log. It's just got struck. So if the job was got struck, then you will get like this.
Venkat, Sean here.
Yeah.
So regardless of our local repository, whoever created those jobs will be reflecting here.
Yeah.
Without
so inside this repository, inside this repository, if someone has created some jobs, right, in other project means folder here. So all the jobs you can see here.
So there is no major key role of our central repository, right?
Here central repository won't come here.
Okay, so even if a local repository is not registered to central repository, so we can see the jobs, right?
Yep. There is no any dependency of central repository here.
So in this data, in this management console, we can see all the jobs whoever created can be visible to all.
Yes, in that particular repository only. Here now we are into this BO user repository, right?
Yeah,
in that repository, in different projects, whoever created the job, all the jobs will be listed here. And also one more thing is there. So here in designer, for suppose I have created this job, new job 161. If I was not moved this job into any of the project folder, that job won't come here.
Project already you created the project, right? Venkat training, that is the project folder, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. See, if I was created one Venkat training project, I have created. Okay. Yes. So inside this project, I created one job, but I haven't moved this job to Venkat training. For example, so here I have created new job 170. Okay.
Okay.
And I saved this one. But I haven't moved this 170 into this Venkat training project. You cannot see this job here.
Okay.
But I have created one job 170.
So in management console, it will show only 161. It will 170 will not.
So if I do refresh as well now.
Yeah, here only the under project one,
here we
whatever
won't
we have.
see that 170 job. See,
Yeah.
there is 00 here. Until and unless if we move this job into any of the project folder, then only it will come.
Okay.
See, so now we cannot able to see here, right? 170 job, 170 management console. Now what I did, so this job I have moved to Venkat training project. So now this job was present inside Venkat training project folder. Now I saved this one. So after you are doing any changes, you need to save that one. Okay. So now again I go to this management console batch job configuration. I just reload this page. You need to reload that page until and unless it won't affect here. So now if I search for 170 stick, you can see the 170 under Venkat training project. This is one of the important point. Initial days you will be like getting some confused here. Why my job was not showing in my batch job configuration? Any questions here?
Yeah, Venkat, can you please navigate to designer once?
Okay.
Yeah, we have here designer, monitor, and log. What is the use of this?
So I told you, right? Designer means you can see the job information here.
Yeah.
Like in a single job, how many data flows, you can expand each and everything. Like this you can have. Okay. So whenever you trigger some job, right? For example, if I trigger this job from here. Okay, so this job information I can see here whether it was success or failed by using this monitor. Even here also we have this is trace log, this is monitor log, this is error log. For now we don't have monitor and error log, right? So only these options are not enabled here.
Okay, so we can execute a job from designer and
Yeah,
management.
designer
Also,
we can
but we
execute.
can't schedule a job from designer.
Designer, yeah. So
And
now this job, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
you are just saving the objects, but I don't see any activation button here, and I don't see any check button here.
Which check button?
Yeah, see, you have just created a job. You would like to check whether all the syntax are correct or it is
Okay,
giving an
so
error.
yeah, see here I have created one job, right? Some
Yeah.
flows are there.
Yes.
If you want to check any syntactical error, so you can create validate currency. Yesterday I told
Okay.
you, right? So if any syntactical error was there, it will show you like this. You can view the error. Parallel
Okay.
execution of sequential flows is not allowed. That means we have here sequential flows, and at the same time we have parallel flows. So that won't happen in designer. There is standard way. Like, so we can have single workflow, we can have parallelly. Inside this single workflow, we can have any number of scripts. And also a single workflow in single data flow, we cannot execute parallelly. Either if we make use any workflow here, if we want to execute this data flow, again, we should take one workflow. Inside that workflow, we should take this data flow. Then only this will work. So if we do validate current, then it will check for the syntax whichever there in this objects. Inside these objects, whatever the error will there, it won't show. If we click on validate current.
Okay.
Okay. And if we click on validate all, it will check for outside errors and inside this workflow or inside this data flow. If any errors are there, syntactical errors, then it will go and check for all those type of errors as well.
Okay.
That is how it will work.
So we don't have any activation of the jobs, right? Jobs or workflows or data flows.
No, there is no activate and deactivate concept here. If you don't want to, for example, your job having 10 data flows, out of 10, you just want to execute only 2. remaining 8 you don't want to execute, then again you need to log in into designer and you come to here and you can choose bypass, and here bypass option, if you click that, this data flow won't execute for you.
Okay, so now we have created a job. How we can register this to central repository?
How can you
register this to central?
Yeah, you need to activate here. Even today also the central repositories are there, but it was not activating for me. Maybe from this user it was not allowing me to activate. So you can activate that central repository, and if you want to add one by one object, first you need to start, if your job using any of the custom functions, right, you can click on that functions, you can do right click. The first time you want to add into central repository, you can click on add central repository option. Here you can get 3 options: objects, objects and dependents with filters. 3 options you will be get here.
Okay.
So if you want to add only this object, like this functions might be use any of the data store configurations or any of the tables inside there, right? So if you click on add central repository as object, right, those data store configurations won't go to the central repository. If you click on add central repository objects and dependents, if you click, right, along with this function, the data store configurations and everything, whatever you use, right, inside this function, everything will be go. It's all depends on like how you want to add this particular object into central repository. So now, so you might not get clarity here, but if I come to a data flow, inside this data flow, for example, this was the data flow. Yeah, so this was the data flow. So if I click here, if I want to add this data flow into central repository, here 3 options will come, right? Objects, objects and dependents, and with filter, 3 options will come. If I click on object, right, so only this data flow will be goes. So this table, this transformations will go, but these tables won't go. Type tables and its associated configuration, data store configuration also won't go. Only structure of that particular data flow will be goes to central repository. If I click on add central repository as object, if I go for add central repository objects with dependents, if I click on that option, so the data flow structure, along with structure, these tables on from which data store this table was we took, right? So those data store information, those data store configuration and this transformation, everything will be go and sit in central repository.
We cannot add direct batch job, right? So from all
no direct batch job also you can add. See here, add to central repository. Even here also you will get 3 options.
So once we add this one, so all whatever we have that job, the workflows, data flows will add or no?
Yeah, if you choose for add central repository objects and dependents, if you click, right, then all the inside this job, whatever the workflows, data flows, scripts, functions, whatever there, all will be going to central repository.
Okay.
Objects and dependents option.
In general, what is the best practice? So like we can add
object only. Add to central repository object only. Because you don't know, like if you directly come here, because see, so whenever you create one data store configuration, right, so once you created one data store configuration, you first need to add that configuration to central repository. That means it's already there in the central repository. You no need to like another time, you no need to add that one to central repository.
Okay, good.
So in that case, what you will do, whenever any object, so whenever you add anything to any job to central repository, right, you need to come from custom functions. If no custom functions is there, then you should come to data store. In that data store also, you no need to add configuration first, because when you created this data store, right, that time itself you need to add that configuration to central repository for safer side. And then in your job, if, for suppose in my job I was using this data store, in this data store, sorry, I was using this data store. In this data store, I was using these two tables. Okay, so I just want to add these two tables into central repository. Right click and add to central repository. If I click on add to central repository, this table will be goes and it will be added to central repository.
So in central repository also have a similar structure, right? We have project, data store.
Yes. Like this structure only we have project, job, workflow, data flow, transformations we don't have. This data stores, file formats, and custom functions.
Okay, so
Other than this,
here we are adding from our designer object to central repository. Like, how can I get from the central repository in my local? So how can it?
So once this central repository was enabled, right?
Okay.
So this type of window you will get.
Okay.
Okay. So in
Go
this
to
window,
particular object and we need to select and
these
import.
projects on job, workflow, data store, all this information you will be having here. You just right click on that, and once you get right click, right, you will have one option called get latest version.
Okay.
So in that get latest also, couple of options also there, like get latest object, object and dependents, object without dependents, with filtering. 4 options will be there. Okay. So based on whichever you want, you can go for that option.
Okay, good.
Clear, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Now the central repository was not activating, so only I was not able to show you like how do we add that into central repository and how we get that from central repository. So that thing I was not able to show you.
So you are checking with that vendors, right? So
I'm just checking with that vendor.
Enable so that we can easily understand that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this was the management console. Anything that I have missed or you have any doubt, you can ask me. Just check thoroughly. If something I missed, then just let me know so that I can explain you. Okay, one thing I forgot. See, we have triggered this job from designer, right? So this job, if we click here, we can see the logs here. So the same type of logs we can see from this management console. Okay. So this time what happens, yesterday or day before yesterday, I explained you. So whenever we triggered a job from designer, we can see the same log in the management console. But whenever we trigger a job from management console, the same thing we cannot see it from the designer.
Okay.
Clear, right? So for now we are seeing this log, right? If I click on this close all windows, right? Everything will be gone now. We cannot see the log here. Now even this thing also gone. Even if you go forward or backward also won't work for you once you click on this close all button. So now that time what you will do, you just go to your management console. There you can see whatever the information that you want. If it is a trace, monitor error or something you want, you can check there. Clear, right? Till now?
Yes. So Venkat, like for example, we configure one job here. Can we access these jobs from third-party tools, scheduling tools, something?
Yeah. From third-party scheduling tools, you can do. For that, your admin or platform team should configure that third-party scheduler to BODS. From like Jenkins.
Okay, in the BOE that
Yeah. You can do that one. So the admin will take care of that. So in Jenkins also configuration, everything will be done by admin. So once that is done as a developer, whatever the in Jenkins, for example, in Jenkins tool, so far we use only Jenkins. So you can go to the Jenkins, you can select the job, you can give whatever the parameters it was required, and you can schedule that particular job.
Okay. Yeah, earlier we saw that BOE disabled, right? We need to enable that option, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So no questions in this window, right? Like batch of status, batch of configurations, repository schedules. So here all clear, right? Like remove means, like, for example, this one was not activated. Okay, if I want to remove, I don't want to keep this schedule. So I select and remove this one. So once removed, it won't get back here. Again, if you want the same schedule, again, you need to go to the batch of configuration. You need to select the job and you can do the add schedule. So all clear, right, in this administrator? So we go for this, what we call the operational dashboard, how it will looks like.
Maybe that part we can see later. We can start that designer part. So we can flat file loading, so the transformations, we can start that part, so that once we have some idea, so that we can see that part later.
Yeah, sure. So okay. Okay. So yesterday we discussed about flat files, right? How can we access flat files? How can we create a new flat file? How can we edit roles, right? So for those, we can set up here. So whenever you want to have some access for a file in a particular location, you should come to this format section. This format section, you should go for flat file. If it is a flat file, .txt, .csv, this type of file, like delimited file or structured file, then you come to flat file section, you can choose. If it is an Excel workbook, you can go for this Excel workbook section as well. If you want to access some data to Excel file, then you can go to this Excel workbook. But in BODS, this Excel workbook, we cannot load the data into Excel workbook. Okay.
Only source is available. There is no target Excel.
No target. We cannot load .xls data into .xls format.
But target CSV will work, right?
Yes, target.csv will be work. Okay. Now, so I just want to access some txt file. Okay. So in my location here, I have created like a training folder. In this training folder, I have target. Just a second. Or I have Dhanu folder. This Dhanu folder is there. In this Dhanu folder, I have some .txt files. You can see that txt files looks like this. It has some couple of columns which will be separated by pipe symbol, and it has some values to us. Okay, I just want to access this file. I just want to access this file data and load it into some table. Okay, that is what my requirement was. So in this case, I should configure this file into designer first. This path and this file, I should access this file. And after accessing this file, I need to define few properties on top of this file. After defining those properties, so later I will decide whether I just want to use this file as a source or target based on the requirement. And once that is done, whatever the operation that I want to do, I can do. So now our requirement was, I just want to access this file data and load it into one table. So we need to configure this file and we need to have one database connectivity to us to load a table, to load this data into a table. Okay. So for now, I should go to this flat files. I should do right click. I need to take one new file, right? So I need to click on new. Need to maximize this and this is the name of the file which I want to create for us, like Mara. So for our identification, I just giving Mara BODS training. So whatever name you want to give, you can give. There is no any restrictions here. Okay. And adaptable schema. Adaptable schema means like it will, if you choose this one, it will like adapt the schema of that particular file. So by default, it should be no. And custom transfer program, if the file is if you want to define some programs on top of that file, so you can have that. You can make this as yes, or if you want to don't want to define any custom transfer program, you can have that option as no. Like if you have this option as enabled, then you will get some program where that program should be executed, what is the username, password, and what are the arguments that you want to give. So this option will be enabled for you. If you give this is no, then you don't need to give anything. And skip error handling. Error handling means like if you want to skip the error handling. If any error comes in a file, you want to skip that one, then you should go for yes. If not, then you can go for no. Because see, whenever we access file, if the folder or that file don't have don't have write access or something, you just throw an error like saying file permission error. So this type of error you will get, right? So that job will get failed for you. So if you want to get those type of error, then you can enable this option as no. Disable this option as no. If you want those type of errors should be acceptable and you don't want to print any error things in your trace log while running the job, you can enable that option. Parallel processing threads. This was not required for us. Parallel processing means like if you want to parallelly process the data from a file. Anyhow, by default, it will do parallel processing. So default option will be the standard option we can give. And now location. Location, like where you want to access the files, whether it was from your local system or some other system or some system configurations you have done in some global variable. That global variable you can choose from here. So in a repository, okay, whatever the global variable you have defined for different jobs, right? All the global variables will be listed out here. So you can choose any of the global variable from that. But in our case, we should choose the file from our local system. So only I will go for local and then root directory. So if from this root directory, if I click right, it will go to the root directory. In my case, where is that folder? Yeah, Dhanu. This is the root directory for me. So I choose this one. And file name. If I click here, it will directly open the Dhanu because root folder was Dhanu I have given. So from this, I just want to access this Mara. So once you selected that file, it will override the schema. Yes. So you will get the data. Whatever the content was there inside that file, you will get that. But in our case, like here the record separation was pipeline delimiter. Okay. So here the delimiters are defined as comma. It hasn't find any comma between the one record between another column, right? So we should give a delimiter as pipe symbol here and click on enter. So this thing will come, this pop-up screen will be coming to you. If you click on S, then see every column was defined here. Okay. And by default, this field 1, field 2, field 3, field 4, everything will be coming here. Default field size will be defined automatically. So remember one thing, whenever you are importing a file, the default data type was varchar only, it will take. Okay, you no need to, like, it won't consider, like, if it is contain some integer value, some date value, automatically it should take date time as a data type. No, by default it was varchar. So whatever the data type that you are required for your project, you can change that here accordingly. So for suppose field 3 have date time. So here field 3, you can go for date. Format, you can choose default format, any of the format. Okay. So while loading here, you can see this format, but while loading the target, you will get this format. Or if you don't want to change it to date, you can keep it as varchar. You can give whatever the size, maximum size. For me was giving 20. Even that is also will work for us. And row, new line, means it will always take each row as a new line and it will process the data. Row within the text string as a character. You need to select the character only. Text, if you want to have different type of text, like some of the files you have, like this every data MNDT, like I will show you that file. So see, few of the what we called, few of the files contains like this MANDT double inverted comma, and then it will separated with pipeline symbol, and then next column should be like this. It will be separated like this. Okay, in that case, what you will do, not even these columns, every data, it should be quoted with double inverted or single inverted comma. That time what you will do, you can choose text. Either you can choose double inverted comma, if you choose this, see, here we don't have those things, so only there is no effect was happened to us. So for now in our file, there is no single inverted or double inverted comma. So for now we are keeping this as a none. Okay. Escape characters. So this was by default none. So if you want to, like, escape something, like if you want to skip something, in your column in data, you have some special characters. You don't want to load those special characters into target table, or due to some issue, due to some special character issue, you want to what we call escape those. You don't want to load those into target, then you can give that particular character here, so that if it is find any such type of character into a particular column, then it will skip that one.
So here you can mention only one character, or you can give multiple characters. Suppose
yeah,
we have in our flat file where some dollar symbol, some other symbols is there, so we can mention all here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in place of null, whatever you want, you can give. Ignore row markers and date format here. I told you, no, like whichever format you want to give, you can give the date format. Even the same applicable for hours, time format, and the date time format. Style, like input and output, how do you want to load the data? Okay, and skip rows. So how many rows, how many top rows you want to skip? For now, I just selected 0. So I don't want to skip any of the rows from my data. So I gave 0. If you want to skip for 10 rows, first 10 rows, then you can give 10. So click on enter, then first 10 rows only will be loading the data. So I just don't want to skip anything. So I gave 0. So my data came like this. Skip row header. If it was selected as no, then the first row won't consider as a column names. Like see, whenever we imported our file now, so that time it took default as field 1, field 2, field 3. But the first row was not considered as a column names. So if I click this yes, then see here, column names are appeared here. So few of the files, what happens, they won't give these column names for you. So that time you should skip row header should be no. Clear, right? This option. Many of the people get confused here. Why we will use skip row header? Why not we use skip row header? At which situation we are going to use the skip row header? You're clear about this thing, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now write row header. Like for suppose if you want to write this row header into your file, if you're loading file to file, right? So if you want to have this row header as well, so you can enable this option. So whenever it's load the data into another file, so along with the data, you will have this column names into your another file. If you don't want that, for now we are loading data into table, right? So for now, I'm just keeping this option as no. So this write BOM, even I don't know like why this option was. And then coming to language, on which language you want to have. You can choose any of the language. You can choose the language. And code page also you can have like UTF, all these things are there, right? So you can change the code pages as well here, UTF-8, UTF-16. So all these things you can select whichever required for you. But for now, we are selecting these as two as a default. Now, the other option are like error handling options. So okay, now error handling. So whenever whenever data processing from one file to table, if there is some warnings are coming, like data type conversion warning or something, if you want to show those in the warning like error tab, right? In error log only we will get the warnings and errors, whatever it might be. So if you want to show those, you can enable this option. If you don't want, then you can just keep no. For me, I just want to see all the warnings and errors, so I was just keeping this as yes. And maximum warnings, like there are 1,000 records. So after processing 1,000 records, so you are getting 1,000 warnings, data conversion warning or whatever it may be, column level or something you will getting, right? So that time you want to limit those warnings, because if you are getting more warnings, like your error log file size will be increased there. So when you will be getting know that one, so once you run the job in development environment itself, it was getting huge number of warnings, right? From there you can select, I just want only top 10 warnings, so I can select 10. If I select 10, then it will give only top 10 warnings only, remaining it will not printed in our error log. For now, I'm just okay. Let me keep 10 itself. And data conversion errors, like as I told, here we have like something what we called data types. See here for date values, we have like third column. This was what like varchar. So whenever we are converting we are sending a varchar value to a date column, then it will throw some error, data conversion error. So if you want those errors, then you can enable this option. If not, you can just simply no, finish it off. And also row format errors, like if any rows have any errors, format format errors, if you want to collect those, you can click on this yes. If not, then you can go for no. For now, I'm just keeping both the options as yes. And capture string truncation error, like here varchar of 10 I given, but like other than 10 we have like some huge some lengthy strings as well. So if any string like string truncation error thing was happened, right? It will collect those information as well. So for now it was no. I can keep this one as yes. And error. If any errors comes, if 2 to 3 errors comes, then I just want to abort the job. In that case, I can give the error limit. If I give the error limit after 2 to 3 errors, the job might fail. And so while processing these files, right? So there are some rows we are missing one pipeline symbol or something. So in that case, it will consider as a error row. If we want to have that error record information as well, if you want to store that into separate file, you can enable this option. If you enable that option, then you can give the root directory and what is the file name for that. For now, we can give that as a same folder only, Dhanu only. Sorry, Dhanu. So in Dhanu folder, in new folder, I just want to store my error logs and file name. Here directly we can type error.txt. We should give the format as well, .txt or .csv or whichever format that we want. So this is how we can define a file while we accessing the file. Clear, right, till now?
Yes, Venkat. I have only one question. In local, you selected local, right? So in real time, in general.
No, real time it's not possible. Real time we won't select local here.
Like which one we select, the job server or what?
No, not the job server. You can give, if any path are there, you can go to that path, or even if you can select the local, here the root directory you can select, or whenever you have some other shared folder access, right? Even
Yes.
that shared folder will be added to your designer. Even you will get that shared folder path here itself.
Here
Like
in this
local you are getting, right?
So suppose in where we install the BODS server, we have one shared folder, it will come in this list.
Yes. Admin will do that one. You can see that one as well here. Like at the end, you will see that path. You can select that one. From there, whatever the directory you want, you can choose the directory. From that, you can select the file here. The same applicable to here as well. Error file root directory.
Okay.
Any questions?
No.
Okay. So now our file was imported to designer. We need to click on save and close. So this is the file. Okay. So I just want to use this file. I cannot drag this file into here. If I want to use this file, either I should take one data flow. Even I take the workflow also, it won't come. See. So inside this workflow, I can take data flow, or outside of this data flow, workflow, I can take one data flow. Okay. Inside this data flow, if I drag this file, it will come like this. So how we want to use this file format? Whether it was like the source or target, or we want to cancel this operation. So for us, for our case, we want to just use as a source. So if I use source, then this type of option will come. If I want to use it as a target, then this symbol will come. Okay, anyhow, we want to use it as a source. So this type of will come, and if you want to view data, you can directly click on this set symbol. You can get the top 1000 rows here. 1000 or 100, whatever the configuration that they do. While installing the designer, right? You can have this one. And you can define some temporary filter conditions as well here. For example, you are able to access this file from designer, but you don't have permission to go to that particular folder, and you still want to see the data in this file. Okay, that time what you will do, you can choose this filter condition, and so here for MANDT, I just want to get only 400 values. Okay, if I click on apply, okay, only MNDT 400 values data only displayed for me. So in the same filter condition, if I want to change something, then I click on this two cone symbol, then I can give any other value and click OK. So there is no 500 value. Even also, if you have still doubt, you can refresh this one. So for this 500 value, we don't have any data. So again, if I go back, I change it to 400. I click on OK. I do refresh. We will get the data. Clear, right? Any questions here?
No.
Sakari, you have any questions?
No.
Okay. So that's how the filter condition. If you want to add one more filter, you can go for this plus symbol, and you can select whatever the columns you want, like MANTR, MATNR. You can take that MATNR value. Here, if you see here, this first value, like, right, 126513. 126513. And there are two conditions over here, right? So this default is end condition, like a row contain these two filter condition. How our SQL query was there, right? Wherever we are using multiple where conditions, filter conditions, right? Like if I want to query this in a SQL table, right? Where condition, where MNDT equals to 400 and MNTR equals to this value. So if the particular data contains these two values, then only I just want to have the data. If the any of this case was failed, then I don't want to see the data. So in that case, you can have AND or. So for now, let's check for AND. See, only one data was given, even if you do refresh as well. So if you want to have OR condition here, even though also many records are there, 400 or this value. So like this, you can check the few filter conditions as well. If you want to add more filter conditions, you can add. If you want to remove all the filter conditions, you just click on this thing. So all filter conditions will be removed here. So if you click here, navigation window will be shown here. If you don't click, it will close. So whichever columns that you want to see, right? In this file, there are many columns are there, out of which this 0 columns, these are clumsy columns are there. So don't want to see all those columns. So you can select whatever you want. So whatever the columns that are selected, those columns are only coming here. Remaining columns are gone. If you want to show all those columns, and you click on show all, okay. All columns will be coming here. You can move one columns. No, for this file format, it won't happen. So these all are the options. You can open this one new window. You can save this one, save as, like, you can save this one as your local system. You can do print, you can copy. If any cell you want to copy, you can copy here. So these all are the options that are available. Not only for files, even if you take a table as well, even that also possible. Clear, right? Till now? Any questions you have?
No.
Okay. So this outside data flow I took. So I'm just deleting this workflow. If I delete this workflow, the inside flow will be gone. So now we took the source file. Now we need to map whatever the columns that are there inside this file to the target. For that we need a query transformation. Either we can take that it from here, or we can go to this transformation. We can just expand this platform. So we can drag here. Whatever feasible for you, you can do. Both are same only. But if you take multiple queries, by default it will come as like query _1, query _2. Like that, numbers will be increased here. You can take n number of queries here. Depends on your requirement. Okay, so I took one query transformation. I just connected both file and query. If I open this query, you can see the incoming columns. So I need to map this column, right, to the output. I need to connect this input data to the output. So I just drag one by one. So after I map this, right, so if I want to change this column name, instead of MA and DT, like material, I can give this one. And if I want to change the data type, I can change the data type. Description, if I want to give some description about this column, I can give description. And mapping, in this mapping also, it will, whatever this coming here, right, the same thing will be shown here. Okay, like this we can do. For now, I don't want to change anything. You can do one by one column, or at a time you can select all. And while right click here, map to output. So all columns will be mapped here. So how do you know like all the columns will be mapped? So if you click on here, validate all, if any syntactical error will there, then it will show that error. If no error, then no errors found will be coming here. If some column was missed to map, for example, I have removed this one. So this means this both columns are not mapped for us. Okay. Either once you can draw and place, if you place here like this, it will come automatically, and this both columns are mapped now. Clear, right? The schema in means whatever the incoming fields are coming, right? Those all are, it will show. If you want to, you can take all the columns, or you can take required columns and map it to target. It's not like any strict like we need to take all the columns, we need to take few columns. No, like that it was. And also, if you want to define some primary key, you can right click on that particular column and you can click on the primary key. Like this it was. If you want to remove, then again click on primary key and remove. And also manually, if you want to add one more column here, right, at any point you can add. Like for suppose if I want to add new output column, after this column or before this column, we want to add one more column. Then if I want to have before this column, then I can go for insert above. If I want to have after this column, then I go for insert below. Then I should keep column name. Then I can go for varchar. If I go for varchar, I should give the length. By default, it was 4. And if I want to have this column as primary key, then I go click on primary key. I click on OK. That column will be visible here. But for this column, we don't have any value. So nothing will be mapped to this column. So I just want to have one default value like Venkat. So whenever we are loading the data, how many records are there, right? It will be appended like as a Venkat only for this column. Like that it was. Till now clear, right? Schema in, schema out. How do we map? How do we add extra columns? How do we consider this as a primary key? Clear, right?
Yes. What if you have a special logic that you want to implement?
Yeah. If you want to have some custom functions to be defined, right? You can go here. Okay. And you can click on that function, whatever the function that you want to have.
Okay.
For suppose string functions. Where is this substring?
What if the function does not exist there? I mean, I cannot think of anything, but what would you do? For instance, a special calculation, what would you do?
Yeah, you can do any calculations directly here.
Uh-huh.
For suppose you want to, for suppose here some integer columns are there, right? You just want to add these two columns. Yeah, you can go for this plus.
Yeah. For instance, you want to add two columns,
MAT
but
and
you don't
MAN
want.
DT.
Yeah, you add two
You can
columns.
do like this.
You don't want to display the original column, but instead just the output column.
Sorry, Maria, I didn't get your question.
Now, for instance, you want to, to create a new column,
Okay.
which is coming from a source on the existing column. So you want only to display the new column, but not the source. How would you do?
So for now, like we have created one column here, right?
Yes.
So in this column, you just want to define some calculation logic. The same logic, like I just want to adding this MANDT value.
With new column. Yeah.
Yeah. Like this, for this new column, it should contain the calculation value for MANDT and MATNR. Sum of MANDT and sum of MATNR should be goes to this column. So you can add one column, you can give whatever the calculations that you want to do here.
Okay. And on your final output, you don't necessarily have to bring in that new column, right?
If you want this new column to be mapped to output, you can.
But if you don't want.
If you don't want, again, you can take one more query. Okay.
Yeah.
In that query. So, because see, you don't want this column, you can exclude this column, remaining column you can map.
Okay, so if you have multiple, for instance, it's a big requirement. So you have multiple paths, then you'll have multiple queries. So each query is sort of kind of like a.
No, if you take n number of queries, it won't affect on any performance. Because query is something, it just passes the data through it. That's it. If you define some logic, it will do calculations inside. If you don't define any logic, then it will leave that one as it is.
So you can create multiple queries.
Sorry?
You can have multiple queries.
Yeah, you can have multiple queries. It won't affect anything on your performance of the job. But you should you should know like why you define multiple queries.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, if you needed multiple queries, like there are few logics are there, right? After this column was changed to this value, I just want to have one more calculation. Then you can take one more query. In that query, you can have that calculation.
Yes.
For example, we took here calculation, right? After doing the calculation, I just want to divide that with 10. I just want to have some decimal value. Okay, so that thing you can do directly here as well. But you do that whenever you run the job in debug mode, right? So you can get that value like after summing what is the value. If you want to see here, you will get some this type of symbol here in between these queries. And if you click on that, you can see the value of that particular calculation. So after that, if you divide that with 10, you will get decimal values. So that decimal value, you can see the another query output like this between this, like 1 second. So for now, you have calculated something and you have connected like this. Okay. So whenever you run the job in a debug mode, so one set symbol, like how this set symbol was there here, right? Like that, here one set symbol, here one set symbol, here one set symbol was come. So in between these three queries, okay, here you did some calculation. You want to see what is the output of this query. And here this search button will come, right? If you click here, whether that calculation was happened correctly or not, you can see that here. And after this query, after it gives the output, it will go input as this query, right? So even if in this query, you have defined few more calculations. So after that calculations was happened, what is the outcome of this query? You can see that in a search button. If you click this search button, it will give like whether your calculation was happened correctly or not.
Where do you see that? Where do you see the if it failed, where do you see, or if it's success or fail, or where do you see those information?
You need to go to database. You can check, or you can directly click here. It will give not all the values. It will give few of the values. If you take some, let me take some target tables. So for this table, I just want to load the data. Even you can.
Yeah, like where do you see the error? So for instance, if you run and some errors occur, where do you
You can see that into error log only.
Oh, error. You don't see that in the
You
data.
don't see anything here. If you come here, monitor, even previously I told you, I shown you, right? Trace log, error log, monitor log, three symbol will come. Whatever the statements or whatever the scripts are coming there, right? The same thing you can see it from the management console.
Oh. So even on the development or debug mode, you have to go
Even
to
it
the
is a
error
debug
log.
mode, you can see the error in the error log only. Here you cannot see that error directly.
Will it give you a sign that it did not run successful, or there's some error or syntax or whatever? Will it give you somewhere in your
No,
designer?
here you won't get. If you trigger the job from here, you will see all the details. If you trigger the job from management console, everything you can see in the management console itself. Trace log, error log.
So if you trigger it on your designer, then you will see it there.
Yeah, if you trigger here, you can see like this monitor tab. If you come, you can select the job, whichever job you can see from there. Only error log you can see. Whatever you can see from management console, right? The same thing only you can see from here. There is no any different. Clear, right?
Yes, I'm clear for my question.
Okay. Okay, so now mapping was done. Now we need to load this data into a table or a file. Okay, if you want to load a data into table, right, you need to configure that particular thing. You need to configure your database first. So for that, we need some database configuration here. Shall we use this existing configuration, or do you want me to create one more configuration for us? Do you want me to show how do we configure a new data store?
You can create a new data store so we can see it.
Yeah. So you can click on this, you can go here, you can click on new, you can give the data store name like MS. For now, MS SQL Server is available, MS SQL training. And database type is database only we are using. Data store type is database only. And from here, we are selecting, where is this? Microsoft. And for us, 2012 version is available, and this database don't have CDC enable and database server name. So I'm just using this 0_training database. So see here, this database connection has created here. So these all are the tables that are available inside the database. Okay. So after creating this database, you go to edit and you can go advanced. You can have. So yesterday you have asked, right? I told you configurations. So for suppose in development environment, I have only dev configuration for this database. So I just want to have one more configurations for test. So I can create one. Name we can give like test database type and what was selected. Use values from okay. Restore values of already exist. Okay. So one more database has created. So this was the configuration one. You can change this dev. Okay, this was the dev and this was, let us consider like this was the dev and this was the test. So both are using the same server, but database was different. Okay, see here, database server name was SAP BODS for dev. Here no database server was assigned. You can give this database server here. For example, in our case, so Apple I should give here. See, Apple is my server name, and oh sorry, not Apple. So this SAP BODS only, and Apple is my database name, and username and password, whatever. Like for now, let's consider BO user. Okay, so this is how I gave, but I'm not making use of this configuration now. If I want to make use this, then I need to go here and then I need to click yes, then apply. If the connection was success, then it's okay. So I need to click apply. If the connection was success, then no error will thrown. If the connection was failed, then it will throw some error. Then okay. So clear, right? Now I was connected to Apple database. See here, Apple database. If you want to connect dev database, you can come here and you can do yes. So if you do any of the configuration yes, the other configurations will be automatically converted to no. Then after this, you can click apply, you can do okay, and here and apply okay. So our data store was created for us. So in this data store, what happened? Once you created the data store created means you just establish a connection between data services to database, some particular database. So now what happens? You need to import the tables. So now see, in this configuration, you don't have any of the tables. So you need tables, right? For suppose if you want to extract some data from a table, or if you want to load some data into a table, so you need table. You need the table structure, right? So you need to import those. You can do right click. If you know the table name, you can give the table name, and owner of that particular table name, you can click on import. For example, I just want to import this customers table, which is exist on DBO schema underscore training database under training database. Okay, so I have copied that and I gave that customer table name, and it's under DBO schema. If I click on import, table does not exist in the information. Okay, no worries. If it is in this way, it is not possible, then you can click on this. So what is that table? That's customers, right? So here this customers table. Right click, import. So now see. Here this table was imported. If you want to see the data or columns of the tables, yeah, you can see here. Like this, you can import a table. Clear, right? How do we create data store? How do we import a table, existing table? Any questions here?
I'm good. I don't know if everyone is following.
Anyone have any questions? How do we create a data store? But I think you might got some questions here while we do configurations here. No one has asked these questions here. Any clarifications needed here?
I do have question, but maybe you're gonna show this on a latter part. So you're creating two configuration, right? So in this example, we are on you. It is on the same server. So how do you, when you're deploying the program, you want only, obviously for the development it's not a concern, but for a different environment, how would you attach, or which one, how would you deploy and just select a specific configuration when you deploy that package or that program to, for instance, to test environment?
Okay. So whenever you do transport, right, you can do the transport of this configuration. For example, I was in development environment. In my development environment, I need this development configuration. So the
Yes.
same configurations, like whenever you do transport of the data store, right, it will go all these configurations. So after going to the test environment, for example, now I came to test environment. Okay. So this default, even when I do get latest of this configuration, right? So default, the dev environment should be enabled as manually. We need to click on
So
this
you
as well.
so you have to change the property manually on the target.
No, manually we need to change this one.
Where?
Here itself, like
during the transport.
so after the transport, you will get this configuration into your test local, right?
Yes.
So once you get that test local configuration, you need to open the data store. You can click on edit. You just come to advanced option, and then you can come here. And previously it was in dev, right? Dev as yes, right? So you need to click on dev as no, test as yes.
So if you have three config, for instance, you have 3 environment. So when you deploy that to your production, you have to do the same thing.
Yes. For production also it will be same. Once it was moved to production, right? You need to do this configuration, both dev and test as no. You need to enable that production configuration as yes.
Is that the normal way of doing it or deploying to production?
Yes.
Someone has to make that change.
Yeah, there is risk also there. If
yeah,
there is a new guy, if there is a new guy, he doesn't know, like in production, previously it was like pointed to production configuration. But some guy came, he has changed it to test environment. Then that will be an issue. Again, you need to log into there and you need to change the configuration. There is no any other way as well. Or else in production environment, once you take this data store, right, you can delete this configuration.
And likewise, even on development. So assuming
even
if the
it will
admin
applicable
is
to dev, test, and production environment.
Yeah, because you can enable production even though you're in development.
Yes. So only like we have this option, but what I'm saying is, as a standard process, each environment you should have only one configuration.
Correct.
That is the best practice.
So once you transport that, you should, instead of enabling it, remove the unwanted.
Yeah, you can remove that one. That's what I'm saying. See, if you are in test environment, right, you can click on this, you can delete this dev configuration. And you need to click, for suppose this was the dev configuration, I was in test environment. So what I did is I just select this, I said select this
and you cannot script that configuration. You have to physically manually
no
remove.
There is no any other alternate way. You need to come manually and change here, and you need to delete that here. Deleted this configuration. Only I have dev configuration in my dev environment. Just click apply, okay, and then apply, then okay. That's it. There is no any, like we can write a script, we can store that into a variable, we can assign that variable. There is no any alternate way.
So I think
one
time we need to change in the test environment manually, Maria. I understand. So for example, you have 100 batch jobs. So the connection name is like you give the connection name is HANA-DB something. So same HANA-DB, first time we need to create, I mean, we can export one time to QA, then we can manually change the server names, everything. So next time the remaining 99 jobs, so no need to export the data connection part, so that it will take from the whatever the manually updated in the QA, it will take from that.
Yeah.
So one time definitely we need to.
Yes, one time we need to manually change that one. There is no any alternate way as well.
Yeah, so, actually, whenever you deploy a new one, you have to manually change.
Yes.
No. The first
when
time,
you
Maria.
Deploy, yeah, it's new, right? You only get one instance of new, right?
So whenever you create new configuration, right, you can do whatever you want. Even middle of your project as well, if you want to add all those configuration in production environment, right, you can add it. It won't affect until and unless you can pointing your configuration to here. Like I told you, no. If there are one more configuration is there, then this option will be not come here. If one more configuration will be there, then only this option will be enabled for us.
So can you just minimize this screen now, Venkat? So here, Maria, so he created the data store connection name is MS SQL underscore training, right? Here referring is a dev. So the same MS SQL training we need to create in the QA environment. You can change the database names or server names there. So when we export the jobs, batch jobs from dev to QA, so no need to export the
Data
DS
store.
Data store
Yes.
connection. So then it will take from the whatever we have in QA, it will take from that actually.
Yes, correct.
So I have one more question related to flat file. So here we have a database. For example, I have 100 dimensions. So the same connection, so it will take from the test environment connection. For example, I have 50 flat files connections. Okay. So those 50 connections have different file names, everything, right? So we need to change manually or what?
File format you are asking?
Yes, file connections. Here we you created one connection, right?
If it is in the same folder, right? For example, no, for each file you need to create file formats.
Each file is a file one connection.
So because each file we should have connections.
So
it refers to a name.
So in QA environment, definitely we can open that one and change the path, right? Because the development path is different, QA path is different.
Correct.
So if I have
so you're gonna do the same thing when you deploy to production.
Yeah, even
so if
production
if you have 3 environment, it's the same process that you're gonna do, right?
Yeah, for flat files, it's a difficult in our scenario.
Yeah, it was a difficult one only.
For database is fine because we have 1 or 2 databases that source target as maybe definitely one only. So no issue with the database.
But you cannot avoid flat files. Flat files is always integrated to a data warehouse or any external file.
Yes.
From a database, right? Okay.
Clear, right?
I'm clear.
Okay. Now coming back to our job. Where is our job? So now we need a table, right? So we don't know like what all are the columns that are exist and how do we want to load the initial data. So at that time, what we will do, we have one option called temporary table, temp table. It was called as a temp table. So in that case, we can go for this temp table or template table. We can take this as a target. We can name it as a like Mara TGT. So that is the table name on which database that we want to create. What is our data store name? Yeah, so we can give the schema name, whatever the schema name that we want. So this is the target table. It should be created in the database by using this connection. So if we click here, then the target table will come here. We map here, then our job is done. So there is no any error we found. Now in this target table, it's a template table. So we need to, after our development, this simple development was done, right? We need to save everything here now. So now we have saved our development. Now we should go to our target table. Here in this option, whenever there is a template table we are going to use, right? This option will be enabled for us. Drop and recreate table. Template table is nothing but it will drop and recreate every time. For suppose, what does it means? For suppose you have kept this template table as usual. Okay. First time you ran the job, it's loaded the data into this table and all went fine. Second time what happens, whenever you trigger this job for second time, it will drop this table from database and again recreate this table and load the data into this table. That's how the backend process will happen if you take the target table as temp table. Okay, now you have created this temp table, right? This table should not be there in the database level. It hasn't created it in the database level. Once you trigger the job, then only it will create the target table in the database level. Till then, it won't create any table in the database. So now we can save this job and can go back. So once you are in the job page only, this execute option will be enabled for you. So once you click on this job, you can do again validate all. So there is no error, syntactical error. Then we are good to run the job. You can click on this execution. If you want to give any global variable values, then you can give. For now, there is no global variable is required. I haven't given any value here. Just triggering this job. So now see. So now this job has failed. No, it was completed with some warnings. So it was very much clumsy to see the error log here, error log or monitor log or trace log. So to avoid this, you can go to our this thing. So our job was failed, at least you can see here. So what is the error? Cannot convert data into integer. Like there is some conversion error because what I told you, no. So whenever some error comes, the job should fail. Like that we have configured our flat file. So only this type of error came and our job failed. But it has loaded the data at least. So you might ask me like, how do you say like it has loaded the data? Because see, if it has failed, then it should be in process state. But it was in stop state means even though the error came, but it has processed only 371 records. So how do we see that records if we don't have access for database, right? Sometimes in production, no one will provide us even read option as well. So in that time, what you will do, you can again go back to this job. You can go back to this job. You can view the data here. See here, data got loaded here. You can see the count of these records. See 370, 371, 371, and here also 371.
Yeah, in target it is fine, but how we can know that source have only 371 records?
Sorry, Shravan?
Yeah, in target we can see that 371 records are added, but how we know about the source, how many records we have?
Yeah, same thing. You can click here, you can come here.
Okay.
371, and then here also. I think it was database connection. Okay. So no, in file we cannot see here. Only table that record count will be available.
So in flat file we can't see. Okay.
No, we can't see the count. There is
So
no
Venkat,
option. Yeah.
So how we can say that the only partial data might be loaded, right?
Yeah, correct.
So how we can identify
So
the missing records?
you can see the error log file as well.
Sorry, Venkat, could you please repeat again?
Sorry, Shravan, you are saying something.
Yeah, how we can identify the missing records from the source which were
Yeah,
not extracted?
we have selected some error file to load that into particular location, right? In this new folder. See here.
Yeah.
So in this, if you don't find anything, that
Mm-hmm.
means all records are loaded. See here 6:55. Now the time was 6:56. So 1 minute before only this file was created.
Okay.
Those all are warnings only.
Okay, so now if we find any missing records in that error file, how we can push that to our target?
You can correct this one. You can correct these error records, right? So you no
Uh-huh.
need to correct this error records. You just give this error records to the user, and user needs to correct those, or he will tell you to modify these many records or check for the records manually. You can check that record, you can modify those records, and again, you coming back to designer, you can create one more file format here to access this file.
Okay.
From there you can directly create one more job. This was in development environment, or in production environment. If you get this type of error, for each job you can create one ad hoc job. User will allow you to create one ad hoc basis job. So you can create one more job, and you can take one data flow. You can configure the same file here in the flat file section. You can take that as a source. You can make use of on query transformations, whatever the logic that you have defined in this query transformation. And final target table, already this table was created for you, right? So the same table you can take here.
Yeah, but we are using a template table. So if I execute that error log again, the target table will be completely dropped and recreated. So
Yeah,
the data will be
yeah.
erased, right?
Yes, Ram. In development environment, we can do all these type of things with template table. Whenever we go to production, right, there is no any template table concept. So
Okay.
that time what you will do, you can do right click, and where it was, some option will be there, re-import. Yeah, import table. If you do right, it will
Okay.
become as a main table for you.
Okay.
Now see, structure of this table was changed. The UI, clear, right?
Yeah.
So now if you go back here, if you go to options, see here, drop and recreate option also gone now.
Yes.
So from seeing that option, you can confirm, right, whether this table is a permanent table or temporary table.
Okay.
Okay, clear, right?
Yeah.
So once you re-imported this table, right, you need to save again this one. If any minor changes you have done, right, you need to save everything. All the time you need to save that one.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Venkat, here I have one question actually.
Yeah.
So for example, here you have a like a source, query, and target, right? So for example, in query we have some filter. So in source we have coming 100 records. In query we filter some records. So after target loaded, 50 records. Okay. So I want to capture in between query source and query in between what are the count. Query to target, I want to get that count. I want to load into some my target, some audit tables, that kind of requirement. How can I
Yeah.
get that count actually?
Yeah, you can count you want to get, or you want to have
Only
that.
count, no, only count in between the source to query. I have 100 records, and I need that 100 count number actually. So from query to target, there is a, I have one audit table. What is the job name and what is the records received? What is the records loaded? That kind of columns is there. I want to fill that columns using this count.
Okay, you can take one count column here.
Then we need to apply some group by something,
Yeah,
right?
even group by also here you can do.
No. See, if you use the count, definitely you can apply the group by, right?
Yes.
I don't want that to kind of like I want to just need that count only. So if I apply the group by, if I have so many columns, it will be performance issue, right?
So if you no, that type of things won't possible here. You need to take one extra column. You can do count star. Okay, and you can do group by, so that it will load the each and every record you have the count value.
There is no any audit configuration something.
No, nothing. Nothing is there here.
Maria, this is one disadvantage, Maria. So because in our tables, in our load status, we maintain that kind of information, right? How many records are coming from source, how many are like updated, inserted, we can sum up and we load into the loaded count actually. Here is saying like there is no that kind of option here.
Or simply what you can do, right? You can take one more column. You can have like after filter condition, right? You can assign some default value for it.
I think we have to do like our own counter, similar to what you're doing now in.
No, Maria, in SSIS we have that transformation. Here there is no that kind of transformation actually.
Maybe we need to think some
directly there is no any way, but indirectly, like if we do some manual calculations or manual transformations, it might be possible.
But if you apply that count, definitely we need to.
We need to go by
aggregation functions. We need to apply that aggregation. Then I think that is not right. I mean, and I saw one option. Can you go to that data flow? In the left side, can you click that job and 161? Yeah, click that one. Yeah, here right click on the right side, right click on the job. Yeah, here not here. In the right click on the right side, you have a data flow, right? Yeah, here right click. Here there is a audit actually. So what is this one? So what happened here? There is a count function is there. I don't know how to use that one. You go to label. For example, you want to anything like here right click on whatever the highlighted one. Can you right click there? Count here. The one label is creating. So I want to how to access this label. So then if it is accessible, this label, the global variable looks like it's a global variable something. If you access that one, definitely we can capture that.
Yeah.
Did you use this audit information?
So it might show like how many records from here to here, here to here.
Yeah,
it will be visible.
How to capture that variables? So I want just print that one so that we can see that if it is.
No, we can see, but we can't print directly here.
And outside, maybe in the outside after data flow or after data flow, you can take the script, you can print that one.
No, it might not possible like this.
Okay.
No, because in my career I haven't faced this type of scenarios. This type of scenarios I haven't implemented. Okay.
And one more thing, okay, can you go to the data flow? So that is then double click this one. So yeah, go to that inside data flow. So here, for example, in source, I have two columns. Okay, in target I have two columns: material ID and material number. Okay, that is the full name, like material underscore ID, material underscore name. In source, the columns are coming like MID, M name. Okay. Can I map that to my target without changing the name?
Yeah, you can do.
I don't see that option. Where we can do that option?
Okay. For example, in your table, so some table already created, right? In our scenario, we only created this table.
Yeah. Now go to the target table. Now, go to the target. Here there is no mapping, right? Left side you cannot map to the right side, right? There is no mapping.
Table here we won't do any mapping. Only query only we will do mapping. For example, okay. So
you understand my question, right?
I understood your question. Let me answer you that. So this table was previously created. For example, user has given you this table. Okay, you told me like this was like some description of the column names was there, and some shortcut names are coming from source.
Yes.
So you haven't done any mapping inside this query. So directly you map, for example, you took like this because user told like I just want to map this column, whatever the columns that here, I just want to map all those column data into this table. So what you will do, you just map like this. If you do map like this, then what happened? Whatever the column names there in target table, right? Those all will be appear here. Whatever the source to a column names are there, right? Those will be appearing here. So for suppose here material number was there, right?
Okay.
Material underscore number. Like this, the column was there. Okay, now just remove this one. Okay, so like this. So you need to map MANDT to material number.
So in query we can map without like.
So here you need to map. So this for
so
this material number column, you are mapping MANDT.
So in query you updated the column name, right? So then it will work. I agree that one. So without
No, I have updated means see here the table column name was MANDT because we have created MANDT now. Okay, even though if it is material number here, so before we are mapping here, so that's what I'm saying. So that let's see. So now everything was deleted, right? You just took your source, your target, and your query. Okay, if you map like this, okay, let me take one more template table so that you can understand that. So one more template table I took here. Some X, Y, Z.
Okay.
This one. Okay, some XYZ table I took.
Okay.
So now this table doesn't contain any column.
Yes.
Okay, so even here also, I will remove the mapping date. So I have removed mapping here as well. And I just map here. Now what happened? Incoming columns are available. Output column itself not there. Because why outcome here no columns are there? Because in our target table there is no columns are available. Whenever
for example,
listen, I am not completed it, Sudhakar. So whenever user material number and some material something they have given to you. Some material number and material description, some there are two columns they have given to you. So those columns will be appear here. Okay, whatever the incoming column that you want to map those two columns, right? You can drag and drop that one here. Like this, you can map. And you can save the job and you can run the job. But here in target table, there is no any mapping will be done here. Only mapping will be done by a query only. This target table only you can see the what all are the columns that are available, what all are the incoming columns are coming, what all are the output columns are there in table. Only that information you can view here. Is it clear for you, Sudhakar, or still you have doubt?
Not clear, Venkat. So can you take one small or two columns in the flat file and can we create one physical table and we can try to load that one? Only two columns is enough. Just take a two columns flat file.
Okay, let me create one table first. Here.
Yeah, then two columns is enough actually, not required. Create table.
Create table MARA.
The syntax error, the create syntax error, E missing actually. Okay, we created this.
So, right,
okay.
DBO
Yes.
Mara we have created.
Okay. First
Now we need to import this table, right?
Correct. Mara.
So done.
Yes, okay.
Now this Mara table we have created, right?
Yes, now we have the target that one. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Let me delete these two columns first here.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So now what I did, I just map these two things.
Okay.
Now see, material number, material description came here. And you want to map this MANDT to material number. And then if you want to map MATNR to material description. And now you just want to run the job, right? If you validate.
Okay, maybe this is the enabling auditing. Maybe you can disable that audit. Previously we enabled, right? Maybe disable. Yeah, now I'm clear, Venkat. I understand this.
You understood, right? This one.
Yes. So basically, without query, we can't do that one. So definitely,
No,
query
without
is
query,
required.
say, if you want to if your source has same column name, same data type, and if your target has same name, same data type, you can directly map without using query in between those source and target. But if your source table and target table have different name, you must make use of what we call query transformation.
Okay, understand.
In any project, if it is a smaller development also, you must use query transformation. That was the best practice.
Okay. In general, we cannot only get the data from source and dump is.
No, there are few scenarios are there because see, from file to staging, we need to directly dump the data, right, without having some quality checks. Some scenarios are there. In that case, you can do that one.
Yes.
Yeah. Do we need a break, or do you have any questions for this scenario, small scenario?
I think you're okay to continue unless you want some 5 minutes break.
Yeah, let's have a 10 minutes break.
Okay.
Yeah. So till now clear, right? Everything was?
Yes.
Okay. So now anyhow, we have created one job, right? I will tell you what all are the options that are like performance tuning options. Okay. So yeah. So in this basics job, whenever you trigger this job, right? This monitor sample rate was there, right? This option. This monitor sample rate, it was like by default it was 5. You can give till 5,000. It will be considered as a seconds. Like if you increase this value, right? Per that second, it will start faster processing of the data. For example, per second it was processing 10 records. So for 5 seconds, how many records it was processed? 50 records only. Like that, if you give 5,000, then it will increase the fast processing of the data. So this is one of the performance tuning option that was available while you execute a job. And at the job level, if someone asks you what is the performance tuning options that are available when you execute a job or when you at job level. So you can tell like monitor sample rate. That was default 5. You can give it to till whatever the value, 5,000, 6,000, 10,000, whatever the value that you want to give based on your data volume. That's how it will work. And coming to data flow, if you go to the properties, then degree of parallelism. This degree of parallelism by default, yesterday or day before yesterday, I told you this is one of the performance tuning options that are available at data flow level. So yeah, by default it was default. You can give till 5. If you give it 5, then internally whenever you trigger the job, right? So this job will split the data flows into 5 separate data flows, and it will process the data. It's something like what we call partitioning type thing, but it was not like table partitioning or something. Whenever you use this degree of parallelism, right, you must have your table to be partitioned. Okay, this is one of the performance tuning. So yeah, target table. If you are making use of a target table, there are a couple of options are there. So target means here the target options are sorry, target information will be there, table information will be there in this option window. Rows per commit, this rows per commit, like per single request, how many rows you want to load into target table. So if you give 1,000, it will load per request 1,000 records. If you want to have 1 lakh, you can give 1 lakh. The maximum value was 1 lakh itself. So that is the rows per commit. And in SCD type 1, right? So SCD type 1 is nothing but daily it was truncate and load, or full load job daily it was truncate and load, right? So if you click on this option, whenever you trigger the job, it will delete the older data and load the fresh data into the table. So that is the use of delete data before load option in the target table option. And another option I showed you, right? Whenever we make use of template table, that option will be available on template table only. And column comparison, compare by name, compare by position. So whenever you map it, right, that time, if you want to have compare the names by position, you can choose this option. If you do compare by name, then you can choose compare by name. So this option was not that much important for us. And number of loaders. For this table, number of loaders are not applicable. You can give 2, 3, something. Identity insert. If you need some identity insert, you can enable this as, if not required. Use overflow file. This is the one of the most important option in the target table. So you told, right, some error records or something. For example, your table has primary keys defined on a few columns, and unfortunately from source you are getting some duplicate records or some null records. So those are error records, right? So those error records you don't want to load into your target table. That time, if you select this option as no, yes, then it will create one text file into your what we call the bin folder of BODS server. Bin folder is nothing but wherever your data services was configured. So there it will automatically create. If you want to give some manual path, you can give, and you need to mention the file name along with its format. So remember, here we won't give .xls. You can give .txt and .csv or any other format if you want, but .xls format won't work. So like that, that is the most important option. If someone will ask you how do you handle the error records, then you can use this one. So production, these type of issues we will get continuously. Some days, like from source, some wrong data will be getting. So to avoid those wrong data, if you go for this use overflow option, those data will be loaded into this text file. Any doubt on this option? Any clarification required?
So all invalid rows will, populated.
Yeah, all invalid rows or invalid data, whichever it's throw warning or error, right? Like some predefined exceptions will be defined, right? You no need to use for some try-catch block or something. Even though if you are not using try-catch block, it will automatically catch this error. Actually, there is no need of try-catch block here. Okay. Like this it was. Instead of some like error record table manually you are mapping, you can use a simpler option which data services is provided. And other than this, if you go for this autocorrect load also, if you enable this option, it won't allow duplicate values. Either it will do offset or merge your data. So it won't allow duplicate values into your target table. This is the one of the most important option. So other options are not needed for us as the table has defined. So no need of go for all other options. Bulk loader. So bulk loader, what happens, if there is huge amount of data and you want to load the data, you just need to append, you need to enable this option. You have both append and truncate. If you enable this option, then these options will be not available for you. So bulk loader, two types of options will be there: append and truncate. Truncate is like if you if you enable this bulk load, so before it's loading the data, it will truncate whole the data and do the bulk loading of the data into target table. Okay, like this. Load triggers after once the load was done, if you want to process something you need to run some commands on database commands or something, you can give that thing, or you can make use of preload and postload commands. Some SQL commands you can give here. You can write some SQL preload and postload commands after your data load was done if you want to have something. But no users would prefer this. Just for your information, if you know something, postload means like after loading the data. Preload means before loading the table data. If you want to do some cleanup activity, you can do. So these are the target table options. So most of the times, no one will prefer this bulk loader option. So maximum time you will go for all these options on the target table level. So now it's clear, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Now I will tell you how do we use global variable. For now, at least see.
So Venkat, before going to that, yesterday also I asked, right? So now you loaded that flat file to target table. So after that, I want to move this file to some other location. Is it possible? Or?
Which file?
So this one, the whatever the Mara TXT, the source for your data flow, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, for that some copy function will be there. I told you, right? Let me.
we need to okay here.
Yeah, you need to take script, but inside a data flow you cannot take script.
Okay, outside also fine. So it's fine. So
Yeah.
because I want. Yeah, can you please do that?
Let me check that function. Where is miscellaneous functions?
Okay, I think here file copy, file delete, file exist in the bottom.
Yeah, see, these all are the options you can do. These all are the functions we can do. So, after you loading the data, right? Or after the data loading was done, you can have one script. You can map like this. You can make use of this function. You can go whatever you want.
We need to mention that path, right?
Yeah, path, file name you need to mention. Whatever the parameters that it requires. Let me use this one.
The path can be mentioned as shared path, like shared file. Shared.
Any path you can mention. Any path you can mention. That depends on whether you are access that particular path from designer or not. You have all the rights on that particular path or not.
Okay.
So based on that, you can assign any path to it.
Okay.
Like this, you need to give source file name, file path. Like this, you can give here. Once that is done, if you do finish, then that function will become displayed here.
Wait. So where we get that option? So can you go to the previously you saw one window, right? Where we have that.
Okay. See in script.
Okay.
Functions. Miscellaneous functions. If you select file, for suppose file copy, click on next. This window will be appeared for you.
Okay.
Okay. Based on your requirement, you can do this thing.
Okay. Okay, I will try this one. If you have any issues tomorrow.
Yeah, sure. Okay, we will see one more scenario. Like we have loaded this file data into table, right? Now what we will do reverse operation. Okay. Now I will be taking another data flow. So in this data flow, what I will do, this table I will be taking as a source. I will taking as a query. I'm just mapped it. And I need to define one file format, right? Where I want to load the data. Before I loading the data into a file, I need to take one file format. This I just give name as a underscore Marathi GT, and it's from local. I need to choose the base path. Where is this? You need to directly give the file name mara underscore tgt dot txt, and I should have comma separated. Skip provider is nothing. Skip provider, yes. Right provider, yes. So I just want to write this table data into this file. So I have configured this one, and then I just save and close. I'm just tracking this, make as target, just mapping it. I'm just taking all the columns here. Just mapping it output. So for suppose you forgot to give some options while you create this file path access. So you can go here, or you can directly double click here as well. You can see that you can make any type of changes here. Okay, now I'm saving this job. So there is one more thing, like so I just want to execute this data flow. I don't want to execute because already we have loaded this data, right? So I don't want to execute this. You can directly click on delete. So delete means it permanently not deleted the data flow. This data flow again will be available here. So I think this was the data flow for us. Yeah. So you will have the data flow in your data flow, this thing data flow window as well. If you remove this, this data flow will be removed from your job. not from your local repository. You can reuse this data flow n number of times, n number of jobs as well. So now this is done. We created one more job to load the data into a Mara file. This job might fail. Why? Because if that particular folder, whatever I given here, right path, if I have write access, then only it will create file and it will place the data with a comma separator. If the write file access was not there, then job will be failed. So why I took this path? Because it was successfully created this error log file, right? So only with that confident, I was just taking this path. I'm just deleting this file. Okay, let me give another name here. Okay. See, now this file has came here with comma separated. Clear, right? Any questions till now? Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Any questions, Shravan?
No.
Clear, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, do you have any BODS did ZaranTech provide some practice sessions for you?
No, Venkat, we have inbuilt.
Okay, you have your own BODS, right?
Own BODS.
Okay, do you have any practice database or where you can do some type of practice?
Yes,
We
we
can do, right?
Yes.
Okay, just do few scenarios, few basic scenarios only. What I want to do, right? I told you about this global variable, right?
Yeah.
How can you define a global variable? So you take any table. In that table, you might have some filter conditions, right? You can apply those filter conditions.
Okay.
Hello?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So you can apply any filter conditions, right? I haven't given you any filter, even I haven't given you any filter here. So if you want to have some filter data here, right? You can go to this where class. So whatever filter condition you, even if it is a MATNR, right? I want to have some filter condition here. So I can go, I can give equal. Anyhow, it was integer, right? I just have some filter condition. I just want to give 400. Okay. So this means what, from source from Mara table for this, what is this? For this MAT NR column, I want only the records which are having 400 as a value. That those records only loaded to be a target, to my target.
Right.
Okay, so you can take any filter conditions. In my example, I'm just telling this thing. If you have multiple, right, you can give end operator, or you can use or operator. Okay, anything you can give, any type of filter conditions you can give. Okay, clear, right?
Yeah.
So like this, you just apply some filter conditions, and you just want to load the data from table to file, and file to table, and table to table, file to file.
Okay.
Clear, right? Just take one table, one file, and you have file permission path, some save folder they will given to you, right? If you have some data BODS installed in your system, you must have some read write access for that particular path. You just take that, you just manually created some file, or you just, what you will do, you just take some table, you just create one file into that particular path and load the data into that particular file. So now what will happen, you have table data and file data. So now what you will do, in same folder you can create one subfolder. So the first file data, you can load it into this subfolder as a target. You can load the data into some txt file or csv file or dot whatever file format that you want. So I just want to you to create four type of jobs or four data flows. Like one data flow, table to table you will load, another data flow, table to file, another data flow, file to table, another data flow, file to file. Okay, so these all are the four things. And fifth thing was, what you know, while loading the data from table to table or table to file or file to file or file to table, you just apply some filter conditions based on the data. You know, like what type of data you have, what type of filter conditions you can apply. You just apply some filter conditions and load the data.
Okay.
So just practice these five things.
Okay.
So clear, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions till now?
So Venkat, can you go to the log here? Left side have a designer monitor log. Can you click the log? Click log. Select any log. Select the not this one. Yeah, here that is fine. So if you see here, there is a 1, 2, 3, 4, sixth line. There is a sixth line. The run ID is there some sixth line. Run ID. There is it will generate every time the new ID. Right?
Whenever you trigger some job, right? So BODS
So
tool itself, it will generate some run
yeah,
ID.
I see the some functions, job number and something. So can we capture this run? Do you have any function for to capture this ID?
No, till now I haven't done such type of things. It might be possible, but I don't have idea about those.
Yes, basically in SSIS we do like that. We have some audit tables. First we can insert one record using that ID. If you want to next time the update the values or some update the row count something, we will update using that ID instead of the name. So if you insert the name, the same job ID run that daily, right? So we don't know which one we need to update. Generally we take this GUID and we can insert the first time before executing the data flow. Then using that ID, we can after data flow, we can update the values. So that kind of scenario, we need this one. So
No, I don't have idea about those. Any other questions?
Yeah, just now I tried that shared folder trying to delete file. It's not working for shared folders actually. So maybe
Maybe
it's
you might not have delete
no. I
permission.
have everything because I only created, I only deleted manually. I'm deleting and creating everything. So
No, from
maybe
BODS you might not have. Please check with your admin team. That might be the case if
no,
you're not deleting the file.
from BODS.
Yeah, from BODS, if you
Maybe
don't have.
maybe can you do in your just to create one folder and give the shared that to that we can access that, we can try to delete that one. You can now first you can create one folder in physical
No, the
folder.
same file I have created, right? In this folder. Just
Yeah.
want to delete this TGT file.
No, this is, you will give the physical folder, right? The path C colon something. I don't want that one. Just create one folder, can give the shared folder actually, not like a physical path like C colon, not like that. Just create one folder, I will tell you my request.
So where you want to create me that?
Anywhere, here also you can create one folder, anything, yeah. Create new folder. Yeah.
Okay.
Just right click on that folder, properties. Now go to sharing. Yeah, click share. That's click that one. Click. That is, you are logging with that ID, right? Or with different?
Yeah.
You want to network cannot share.
Cannot be shared. Because I don't have admin access for this particular system. Because today only I got this access, Today only I got access for this BODS server and this files. So it's just trial and error method I just tried now.
Basically, I'm getting error like the input file name, invalid possible causes, there is a no absolute path, something it's giving actually. So
okay.
the content invalid characters, because in shared folder the starting with 2 right, forward slashes will give that, right?
Okay, you're giving all the path into single inverted commas or not?
Yes, can I let me share my screen? Maybe I already have that one. Give me 2 minutes. We can close this.
Yeah. Yes.
You see my screen, right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
here what I'm doing, using that window. See, when I take this path, when I run this one, I'm open that file. See, let me copy this file. Copy. When I go to run command, I'm able to open this one. Okay. I have delete permissions. Everything is there. I created that file. Manually. I deleted manually. So when I execute this one, this is the error coming. Where I go to this is the error I'm getting actually.
The input file name.
Because my path is starting with 2 forward slashes, right? So because the shared folder, basically my path is, this is the path actually.
Okay. Now go to, okay, one second.
Here okay.
Now go to designer.
Okay.
How do you given this? Okay. Yeah, there are some other ways are there.
Maybe if you give the physical path, maybe it will. Maybe what I did, let me. For example, if you let me delete this one, file, copy, delete, okay. Okay, sorry, not this one. Let me go to functions. It will, the window will come back.
Miscellaneous functions.
Yeah, when I select here, I'm selecting. So from here, browse that one. So sorry, not this. Let me, what is the path? And this is my shared directory. This is And I go there, there is some file. I'm trying to deleting this product. Okay. So when click OK, then click finish. It's coming like this. Okay.
Okay.
Then I execute that one, then I'm getting that error. Maybe because it's not accepting this one.
Yeah, might be the case.
But shared folder should have this.
Shared folder should have double slash. Yeah, for that we have some.
Maybe can you try?
Also
Maybe
something was there. I remember this type of error also I got.
okay.
Okay, let me do some research tomorrow. I might get back
Okay.
to
Okay. Similar kind of you can try your side so that we'll see.
Yeah. Let me do some research on this. I will get back to you on this.
You understand that my request?
Yeah, I understood.
Okay, thanks.
So this is how today's session was, and tomorrow, we can have some theoretical concepts like few more transformations. We will work on like date generation, like I told you right today how the date generation was working. So we will make use of date generation and we will create some date values and load it to that target table. And once that is done, we will work on like few of the functions like how do we call procedure, how do we insert some data from our BODS to a table by making use of some functions, and some transformations we can walk tomorrow. It's moreover like some practical session how today was went, right? So tomorrow also we will work on some practical sessions only. From now onwards we will be having more practical session than theoretical section. But if you have any doubts, not only from today's session or yesterday or day before yesterday session, if you have any doubt on any session, you may ask me. If I was not able to answer you, I might do some research or I might reach out to some of my colleagues. I can answer your question.
So Venkat, in Excel, do we have like similar to Notepad? TXT, we skip the number of rows, right? In Excel, I could not see that skip row.
Excel, you could not see that options. In Excel, you can give only XLS file name, and from that Excel, if you have multiple sheets, you need to give from which sheet you just want to extract the data.
That is okay. So how can I skip my header from Excel?
Yeah, I think you might have some skip row header or something option will be there. Let me check that one.
Maybe not now, maybe tomorrow we can discuss.
Yeah. Let me check that one.
Yeah, before first we can check, load one sample Excel file and okay, so.
Yeah.
Because the header also loading in my target, I could not see the option. So maybe tomorrow we can load some sample Excel.
Yeah, sure. Sure, guys. If you don't have any questions, then we can close the session for today.
Does anyone have question? Okay, I'll take that as a none. Bob and Shravan, you both have access to your client, to the designer. So when you get a chance, maybe I don't know.
No, just practice these things. Like these are not that much complex things.
Yeah.
You just go to these simpler things, and later on we can go for some complex jobs as well.
Yeah, that's where I'm getting into. If you want to do some, connections or whatever we have discussed from today, you can try to
just play with it, and if you get any doubt, you can ask me tomorrow's session.
Yeah, I've gone in and built a job and put a job together to load plants, and basically it's the plant plus the description. So I was able to do that. Ran into an issue, was able to correct it, looking at the job logs. So
yeah,
so I have been doing some testing.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. So we can end the call from here.
Yeah, sure. Thanks everyone. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for attending the session. I hope you all enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Also feel free to ask your questions in the comment section below, and we will reply to them at the earliest.